evening, everyone. We're getting the live stream set up and getting everybody online. So tweet about the space and we will get started shortly. Hello, Yannick. Are you connected okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Right on. Richie, how's the live stream going for the YouTube?
Yeah, it's good. We're go. All go. Go, go, go.
Go,
Right
go,
on.
go.
Yeah, so we have Yannick Myson from Swarm Network, who is doing the Swarm Network AI autonomous agents on SUI, and just had a space recently with the cryptographer Costas Crypto, and they were chosen to be one of 5 out of 630 projects from the SUI hub. And he's here to talk about AI and what they're doing and finding the truth. And they also have the roll up news feature where you can put roll up and tag roll up news and get a reply back with a fact check. So we're great to have him talk about his project with us.
Yeah, thanks. Do you want me to do an intro first?
Yes, please.
All right, cool. Yeah. Hey guys, I see some familiar faces. Richie, nice to speak to you again too. Um, yeah, so my name is Yannick. I've been in the crypto industry for quite a while, now doing several different things, but a lot of it has been centered around AI agents. So naturally, I've been thinking about AI agents for a long time, but not just thinking, also building and interacting with AI agents and really trying to push the boundaries on that front, which is not just an effort in the Web3 space, but also in the Web2 space, because agents are um, not just a valid technological breakthrough that is, operated or operating in the Web3 space. It also has very significant um, implications on the Web2 world, as in, like we can pretty soon you will see that many different businesses are going to lay off very large swaths of their workforce, and we can actually already see it. So there's been several controversies around these topics, um, for example, like Duolingo just recently, I think just this week, the CEO announced that they are going to lay off a lot of their employees, and they are going to focus mainly on using AI to generate their courses and the course content. And to many people in the world, this was like a very big, like shock almost. But it's inevitable. It's an inevitable evolution of work because businesses, they optimize for three things really. So they optimize for one thing, which is efficiency. And efficiency creates, if you have a good business, a more efficient and lean business creates more revenue, and thus will be able to create more profit, because efficiency basically means low cost, high output. And you have three levers in business. The first lever is money, capital. The second lever is people, right? Manpower. And the third lever is time. Now, what the AI agents bring to the space, and more interestingly, what we bring to the space in terms of large orchestrations of agents working together to achieve a certain goal or perform a certain task. So we have three units in this formula, which is one is a single agent, two is a cluster of agents, which can be up to 100 agents, and then there's a swarm, which is comprised of of like several clusters or maybe even 100 clusters of agents. So you're counting into the thousands of agents all working on one thing. Well, how does that relate to what I said earlier about the three levers? Well, now all of a sudden you can maximize people and time, those two levers, right? Before that, you used capital, money to buy people and to get more time, right? Now you use capital to invest in autonomous agents that can do the same or even more than your people can do. And you save a lot of time because they don't sleep, they don't eat, they don't have fights. There's no requirement for too many management meetings because in general, like the communication and the velocity of of speed, I mean like the velocity and the speed of the communication that happens among these agents and you potentially, or maybe like some people in your company, is just accelerated beyond the limits of our human capacities, right? So, long story short, we're building the next generation of AI agent clusters and swarms that are more safe than just traditional Web 2 solutions in this space, because we are anchoring them in Web 3, which means that they're verifiable, like the data that they process and the work that they do is verifiable, such as in a blockchain. We understand who does what, when is what done, and at what cost, for example, and what was the output. And thus we can create a very transparent layer, if you will, where settlements and transactions and data transfers take place among very large amounts of agents without requirement of human oversight. And one of the implementations uh, that we that we started with is is Rollup News, which is powered by the Truth Swarm. So that is our first, let's say, that's the first swarm that is entirely built by our stack, which is able to bring arbitrary data on chain and verify it. So it's pushing arbitrary data on chain and verifying it. What does that mean? Well, it means that if you find some ambiguous claims or some information on the internet that you want to make sure that it's correct, or maybe you think it's incorrect, you can use that swarm. So it's over 1,000 agents now, tapped into different sources, different databases with different capabilities and different tools, um, subdivided into different clusters. And what they do is they just take the information and propagate it in a certain manner and then display it on Rollup News, as either verified, unverified, or anywhere in between. There's like a trust score. So
And you
yeah,
said it
that's
uses zero knowledge proofs because I know Costas Crypto is talking about the ZK proofs. So you can verify something without giving away your identity. And Swarm Network uses the same type of zero knowledge proofs. I was wondering if you could tell
yeah,
us more about that part.
yeah, sure. So essentially, um, we saw that there was a very big gap in trust, and what does that mean, right? So trust means that um, like I can present you a piece of information and you can take that piece of information for what it is. You don't have to second guess it. You don't have to question me and my origins and like what is the motivation behind me presenting this piece of information. There's a certain, like from a technical perspective, there's like a certain score or a certain subset of metadata that verifies or that is transparently displaying to you like what is the origin of this content, where did it come from, is it backed by any, like reputational uh, sources and so on. So that is something that the internet inherently doesn't have, which is a problem because, like it's just one word against another, right? So we have all these security protocols like HTTPS, for example, but what they're mainly concerned with is that they're concerned with the origin of the message and the authenticity of the message, right? Just to verifying where it come from. But now what does it contain and whether what it contains is harmful or not, right? That's why computer viruses exist in this world because there's no the internet doesn't have a native function that does stuff like, checking the content. So that is also a positive thing. That's the freedom of the internet, right? So we saw an opportunity there because there is a requirement and there is a need for a network that only propagates verified information. And this is really important in, for example, the agent space, but also, like also extensively into in our own lives. It's important because we face bad information all the time, and bad information leads to bad decision making, and bad decision making leads to things like war and economic unrest and so on. So why do we need zero knowledge? Well, we need zero knowledge to be able to verify information that is maybe sensitive and that doesn't it's not supposed, like the source of the verification or the evidence for certain claims is not maybe suitable for publication on the internet in general, but we can have a manner, we can have a way in which we can verify information using zero knowledge without having to expose um, what that information what that information is. So let's say like I have a credit card and I want to verify whether that credit card is yours and that credit card is, the number is correct. So what I can do if I don't want to show the entirety of the credit card to anybody is I can cut it up into 1,000 pieces and have each piece verified individually and then put it back together through some kind of like, like algorithm that verifies the 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 whole card essentially, right? But not a single person has seen the whole card. Like you only see like a very small piece. That's a very simple and very abstracted description of it, and that's not really how it works, but that's kind of how it works. So why is this
But
important that we have this kind of technology? Uh, like it's not just for us humans, but it's also for the agents, right? Like these kinds of like verified information and some information you don't want to expose, right? There's many different types of businesses, for example, that have in the world that have a very rigid, let's say, legal wrappers that don't allow their employees to expose the internal workings of the business. So, for example, like Coca-Cola, right? Like their biggest kept secret is their recipe for Coca-Cola, right? So like and you kind of want to know what's in the Coca-Cola, right? You want to be sure that you're not drinking like something toxic or diesel, right? But so you can verify the ingredients, but you don't verify the process. You never publish the process as the business. So like even within the agent space, there will be requirements for this, right? Like not everything can be transparent, but you want to make sure that it's safe, right? Do you get the point?
yeah, so I think with this community here, they're asking me, why did you choose SUI Network? And could you tell us more about the airdrop campaign with roll up news that's going on?
Yeah, sure. Oh, SUI is really something special in terms of like infrastructure and its capabilities. SUI is able to give us a lot of freedom in terms of without getting into the technical details, like it's able to give us a lot of freedom on the asset and object level. So we can have like object nested in objects, and like we can have really complex structures of smart contracts and objects that interact with each other. And it's very fast too. Like the settlement is like near instant. So even if we would grow as a network and if our settlement layer would remain SUI in the long run, then we don't have to be worried that like at peak time, for example, that network is going to be congested and like the settlements will take a long time because like obviously like agents they don't sleep, right? So where we have a conversation which takes us like 2.5 hours that's like like that's like a year for agents, right? Like within that time they'll have done so much more because you know what is really interesting to see is that right now if agents are communicating with each other, they don't even have to use natural language like what we are using anymore. There are other types of languages that are being invented that are more efficient than our language, and that can be used by agents, such as like tonal and frequency-based languages that are just like bleeps, like like tick 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 tick, like these kinds of sounds, through which they
Like
can.
dial-up internet back in the day. Most
Yeah,
people
it's
don't
like
realize that that was actually the data, the sound that they're listening to.
yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, that's a very unique insight indeed. Yeah. So yeah, so dial-up modems used to have these tones, right? And those tones were essentially like a language, which were just like the exchange of a certain information, right? So your phone was essentially listening to the dial-up modem in a way that allowed you to connect to, somebody else's modem. So you'd had this excruciatingly ugly sound, which like literally was like just a painstaking ugly sound. But yeah, indeed, something similar. It's even worse than that. So so yeah. So SUI just generally kind of like next generation blockchain, which has a lot of native functions built in, which we can use too, like the ZK stuff, like the true randomness and a lot of different features. And yeah, we get good support from them too, like I have a open line to like Costas, to like Jamil, to some of the other Myson Labs and SUI like leadership level team, and we get to interface with them and they get to tell us, like some ideas and think with us. So that's pretty nice to have, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that
Um,
space he was actually in Dubai early for base camp when he made coffee using SUI network when he was talking with you about Swarm Network and how you guys had the best project out of all 630. I believe he said he thought that Swarm Network was his favorite, even out of the ones that were winners or got
yeah,
chosen. And I noticed too that some of the other projects didn't even start on SUI, where Swarm Network has been on SUI the whole time,
yeah,
and everyone here is most likely they're SUI maxis and like AI, so they're also interested in the roll up news airdrop campaign and how that
yeah,
works
yeah.
because that's something that everyone can start doing right now.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to go back to what you said real quick about that we were the only project that was like natively on SUI. So the first thing that we did on SUI was launch our agent licenses, which are kind of like a pre-market model. You can buy an agent license, you get access to the platform that's coming soon, but you also get early access to tokens. So if you haven't heard about agent licenses yet, I suggest you go and check that out. So we launched that on SUI, and we've been building on SUI the whole time, and like a lot of the other projects, they were not really on SUI. They were not natively integrated with SUI. Most of them were, I think, either EVM or pre-product. So out of the whole batch, we were the project that was already like really far ahead. And we can feel the difference between us and the others in terms of like skill and scope. Not that they're not good projects, they're really great. But I think that we have an advantage, that's for sure. So yeah, roll up news is really cool. So we have a campaign going on, um, which is which allows you to use the product. So you can tag add roll up lower dash news, and you add the word roll up, and then you can put that on any thread or piece of content in X, and within a few minutes you should receive a roll up. Go check it out. You can do 50 roll ups per day, and for each roll up you will receive a certain set of points. And then there's a leaderboard. If you go to rollup.news, then you can check your username on the leaderboard, and you can see how many points you got. And with those points, you can get access to the airdrop. So we have allocated 20 million tokens for the first season, and there's going to be a second season which is going to commence on the 16th, or shortly after that. And we're going to include a couple of other features there as well, so that you can actually go out and claim more tokens. So you can start to mint different claims on SUI, and probably there's going to be a walrus integration there as well. So you will just have to pay for the gas fee, but you can essentially like find claims that are valuable and you can bring them on chain for us, and then you can get more tokens. But for now, uh, I suggest you to just like use the roll up news feature on X. It's really useful actually, you know. It allows you to not just like become part of our ecosystem and become part of a wave, but it also allows you to consume content more more safely, right? Because sometimes I'm reading something on X, man, and I'm like, yo, this sounds so interesting. Like just now, for example, I was reading something about gravitation technology. So there's, you know, like there's this whole disclosure going on in the United States where they're like releasing the UAP files and stuff. Do you know about that?
Yeah, actually, I've been waiting for that because they promised when they were going to release the JFK and the Epstein files that they were going to talk about the UAPs, but I still haven't heard anything about that, and that's what I wanted to hear more about than anything else. So I'm still waiting
Yeah,
for that to happen.
I don't think it's gonna happen on any like massive scale, but I mean like they've been declassifying certain things, right? And I mean like that's been going on for a while, and then there's been these Congress hearings. I'm sure you've seen those, no?
Yeah, so it seems like what they're trying to do is like a kind of a soft reveal, like just
Yeah.
step by step condition the public to get used to this being a
The
reality.
idea. Yeah, yeah. So anyway,
And
so there,
go ahead.
so yeah, sorry. So there was this guy I was talking about like this gravitational technology, like rotational gravitational technology, and he was making the case that the Soviet Union has already been developing and looking into this technology for a long time, and that there was like a suppression of certain scientists and inventors in the US that were trying to work on similar technology, but then there were government agencies that came and shut these people down and literally like ruined their lives. And I was like, wow, that's very interesting because that is something that, you know, like would be pretty important if you think about it, right? It's like, oh, we're working on this kind of like gravitational device, but also energy device, and then because that's something that the government wants to control, like individual people are not allowed to experiment with this type of technology. So I thought that was like really interesting. But then I used Rollup to try and figure out um, you know, what was really going on. And then, you know, like a lot of the stories that that guy was mentioning were really, you know, different from what how he was telling it, and I was like, okay, well, there's you know too many sides to the story. It's not easy to figure out what is true or not. But anyway, some of those cases were really well researched by public investigators and kind of like these like you know like citizens journalists, and they uncovered a lot of like interesting stuff. Like some of the those people were just straight up frauds. They were trying to defraud people, but some of them were actually inventors and they were really onto something, but they weren't allowed to, you know, like do their
Well, see,
jobs.
what I think what they do is they throw in people that are obviously frauds to make it all seem like misinformation to disguise the ones that were actually telling the truth. They go that deep and throw in misinformation on purpose to cover up the people that had the actual truth. That's what
Yeah,
how
so
I
that
seen it.
Yeah, so that was actually one of the arguments that that I figured out through like looking into the deliberation map. So in each rollup you have a deliberation map, which is a propagated version of all of the comments and all of the discussions that happen underneath a certain topic. So there was also some points where they were mentioning that indeed. And I mean like, you know, like that is the problem with information, right? Like there's so much information out there that like you don't know you don't really you can it's so hard for you to discern on first interaction with any piece of information whether it's real or not, you know. And we humans, we have all these like biases, built-in biases to allow our brains to like make by associations and associations and to try and understand our super complex world more easily. So one of the biases, for example, is like, okay, availability bias, right? So let's say like I have two options. I have three options. I have three choices, and um, let's say like where I want to go on holiday, right? So let's say uh, I ask you, do you want to go to holiday to Spain, France, or Germany? Like where would you, if you could choose anywhere to go, where would you like to go? Spain, France, or Germany? Right? You'll probably be inclined to choose either Spain, France, or Germany. But I'm asking you a question where if you could go anywhere, where would you like to go? You know, maybe you want to go to, I don't know, South Africa, right? But because the options are available, you limit yourself to those options. Another thing, you know, which is more relevant to information is, okay, like for example, like authority bias. I name the bias non-scientifically, but you will get the point. So if you trust somebody because they are an expert in a certain domain, let's say like I trust you because you're a SUI expert. You know, like I know that you know a lot about SUI. So I will take whatever you say about SUI and I will think, all right, you know, he knows a lot about SUI. It's probably true. But the bias goes like this. Because I assign authority to you, now you come and you tell me something about Ethereum. And I will trust you because I think, oh, he knows a lot about SUI, so you know what he says about Ethereum is true too. And then now, you know, like you're gonna talk about some kind of like medical, I don't know, medical recommendation. You know, like maybe because I trust you that much, you know, I will also take your medical recommendation. But like your only field of expertise is SUI, but you don't know much about Ethereum and you don't know jack shit all about, you know, like medicine, right? But because let's say like I see some kind of like authoritative stature in you, I am very much inclined to take a lot of what you say for granted without having to double check it, right? I'll just attribute, you know, truth to you. You see this a lot with things like, you know, like guys like Joe Rogan, for example. You know, like diehard fans of Joe Rogan, they really think that whatever he says and whatever they discuss on the podcast is true. They completely forget that it's a conversation. Like he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's interviewing somebody, right? Like he's asking questions. He's trying to unearth information. He's in no sense or way like confirming or falsifying like the validity of what anybody says. He just thinks that a person that comes on his podcast is an interesting person and he'd like to talk to them. And he thinks that that person has an interesting story to tell, right? But that doesn't
Yeah,
automatically mean that those people are like always telling the truth. You must understand every single body in the world, everybody in the world, like you, me, Richie, everybody has their own agenda to a certain degree. And some people, they push their agendas. And some people, their agendas are, you know, maybe not grounded in reality, or maybe they are going against the common good, or maybe they are, you know, I don't know, they're not, you know, the agenda is dubious. Let's just call it the dubious agenda, right? But those people can still you know, like present themselves as if they are really good people, right? You never know. So you always must take like information with a grain of salt. So what is cool about Rollup is that you can now like take information and like before you consume it, you just go one step deeper and you're like, okay, well, what's being said here? You know, how's the analysis of this content? Then you can see like, okay, most of it is verified, or most of it is falsified, or it's somewhere in between. Okay, am I now still willing to go and read this piece of content? And am I reading it in the same way? No, you're not going to read it in the same way because now you understand that, you know, like a lot of the things that this person is, you know, like trying to promote, you know, might be true, but nobody has verified it. So are you to believe it face value? Maybe not.
yeah, that's one thing I've learned. No matter what I read, I never just believe it. I try and be skeptical about anything I read, no matter who it's from, and always try to see at least both sides of the story. And if I
Yeah.
don't know something, I have no problem saying like, I don't know about that subject because, I don't
Mm,
like people that just try and pretend like they know about everything. And I do know a lot about SUI. Not an expert on Ethereum, but definitely have been, in crypto a while. And I noticed, in your AMA with Richie, months back, you said that you're really trying to make something to give back, and leave like a legacy of helping everybody and
Yeah.
doing something that's beyond yourself.
That's what I love about
And
Swarm. It's so the scope is so massive. It's huge. Like even before Yannick, when you were talking about the implications of AI and how it affects not just the community of investors in cryptocurrency, but it's way beyond that. It's so much
Yeah.
further into every single scope of every aspect that every human is going to be feeling in the future. That's where Swarm and your vision is looking. It's not about a small circle or a bubble. It's about an actual growing narrative which is playing out right in front of us as we're aging, right? Just and
Yeah.
this is it's you don't see it often. It's I covered projects for 5 years. And I can really count on one hand the projects which have come across in the past, which are looking at the scope that Swarm is trying to tackle. Right, it's just a giant narrative, and
it is
Yeah.
definitely
yeah,
a behemoth. And
yeah,
what
it
you
is.
said earlier,
Good
I
word.
never got to mention it. How you said about Duolingo is because what a lot of people don't understand is ChatGPT, even though in its 3.5 model you could speak to it, but all it was doing was translating voice to text and then text to voice. But as soon as they came out with their advanced voice model, it's actually starting to interpret what you're saying by audible interpretation. It's not converting it to text, it's actually listening to you.
Yeah.
So, as far as language learning, that pretty much does away with Duolingo completely because it can hear exactly how you're pronouncing it and it can pronounce it back to you and tell you how you're not saying it right. It can actually hear you instead of your words being converted into text. And that creates a whole different dynamic, especially when it comes to language learning.
Yeah.
So, you
And
have to be able to adapt.
yeah, and what is interesting about that is that it it works in ways that we humans communicate, and you can almost, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you have a robot with ears and he hears this thing, but the signal that he receives, he decodes in similar fashion, um, as we hear it, right? So you'll have an agent that can mimic really accurately like the capabilities of human speech, but not just the capabilities, also the interpretation of it, right? So previously, like these language apps, they'll probably have some kind of like frequency algorithm that checks the tones, the height of the tones and the accent of the tones, and then it will tell you like whether you pronounce it correctly or incorrectly. But that's just a very, basic a basic attribute of speech, right? Of like a different language, like the tonation and the accentuation are just a very small part of it. Like how you pronounce the letters and your accent and these kinds of things. Those are really important too, right? And like how the pronunciation of the letters and how you move your tongue and so on. Like they create all these nuances, right? Like all these nuanced kind of like sounds. But previously, these language learning apps, they were not able to recognize these things. But now you have like native, like language endowed robots that can, right? So they can communicate with you on a very realistic level. So another really great, like thing which I like with which is AI driven, obviously, it's like, do you know the 11 reader, which uses like AI, like text to speech. You can just upload any PDF document and it will just read it out to you like it's an audiobook.
Yeah, I
And it's
use that
free.
all the time. It's very useful.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's very neat. It's very neat. Like these kinds of technologies, man, like they're really game changers. And coming back to the point, yeah, that Richie made, it's true. Yeah. So my personal motivation is like I don't have to work anymore. I'm not saying that to boast, but I'm just saying that like certain people like okay, I will just not say you can say certain people. I'll just relate to myself. I used to work for money, and I thought that okay, I'm doing this work because I can I can earn money And once I have earned enough money, I will be able to just do whatever I want, just relax. So, and then at one point in your life, you might or you might not come to that point where you're like, holy shit, now I have everything that I could ever wish for. I have a beautiful wife and I have a kid. I have like more money than I can spend. Um, and all of a sudden,
And
your purpose and
congratulations, by the way, Yannick. I know you recently had a son, and I think
yeah, yeah, thanks,
congratulations.
man.
That must be
Thanks.
amazing for you. I'm glad to hear
Yes,
that.
it's really a big change. We can talk about that a little bit later because it really changed my perspective again. But anyway, so then all of a sudden you get to that point, right? And you're like, damn, like so what is the purpose of all this? Like, what am I supposed to do with all this, right? Like, it's all a big dream, but then you realize that actually, wow, actually, in hindsight, the journey towards that point was much more enjoyable than, getting to that point. And then from that point onward, your whole perspective on the world changes. And I'm I mean, I'm a big proponent of doing good, and the things that I've done before were always uh in the spirit of some kind of like community or some greater good or some like optimization of an organism or organization or whatever, right? So but then you get to think about like what is it that you can really do with your time now, and what is it that would be impactful enough to permit yourself to spend time on it, right? Because like I don't know, my perspective changed so much where I was like, okay, I can do anything, but most of the things that I can do now, I could do, they might have been excited like when I thought about them like 5 years ago, but when I think about them now, they're like, that's not that interesting. I really love design and stuff. So I always thought that maybe eventually I would do something in like the like the high tech design world. But that is not interesting now anymore, It's like before that you were thinking about, okay, how can I make my career? But now you're thinking about how can I change the world? You know what I mean? It's like a different level. So yeah, so the reason why I love Swarm is because it's really broad, has very broad skill implications, but it can also really help people, right? So if we do a really good job at making the technology like really accessible through these no-code tools, then like anybody can use it, and it can really, really change people's lives for the better. It can become kind of like an entry
That was
point.
a Yannick. That was a question that I had from some more people. How does the codeless builder program work? How do they make these forms work without being a technical person?
Yeah. So um, it's really easy to describe, but I'm trying to find the words to explain why it's important. But let me just describe it first, yeah? So
Okay.
you use natural language, so you write like a manuscript or you write a paragraph, it doesn't really matter, but the more you write and the more specific you are in the requirements that you want your swarm or your cluster to adhere to, the better it's going to work. So let's say you want to create a cluster of up to 100 agents. You just write a piece of text, you give that to the system then spins up those agents for you according to what it thinks is um, adequate and is required based of your briefing, essentially, right? So you say, okay, I want to create a cluster that is able to fact check scientific claims using the XRGIF database of scientific papers. And I also wanted to be able to cross-reference different papers on different claims. So not just find one paper that has the same claim, but I wanted to be able to find at least like a certain different, subset of certain like, types of papers and all different authors and so on, so we can really substantiate this information. And then I want to give a verdict on those claims, for example. So that's actually something that we built for Swarm's Truth Swarm. So then what happens is that the system spins up a bunch of agents for you. pre-programmed. The prompts are all there. The action space, so the tools that each agent can use are pre-programmed. And then also the way that the agents can communicate with each other is also uh, is also decided for you. So like, is there a certain hierarchy among the agents? Or is it more like a free for all, like group chat based kind of like mechanism, like organic collaboration? Or is there like a certain, structure? Is there like a leader? Is there like researchers? Like how is this cluster of agents organized, and how does that work best, hypothetically speaking, right? And then you can just click deploy and you have it. And then you can start to use it. So that's how easy it is. But it doesn't mean that it's like going to be 100% accurate all the time. No, what it means is that it gives you, like 85% of the setup. And now it's up to you to go out and like figure out, okay, how can we optimize the leftover 15% to get 100% performance, right? So that will mean that, okay, well, I need to go and test, and I need to go and see if like this cluster that I created um, does indeed do what I want it to do, and then make adjustments based off that. But it's all natural language based. So you can just use English or Spanish or Chinese or whatever you want to make adjustments and to like guide the whole development process. And of course, there is still requirement for, like a developer um, to join our network in terms of creating the tools and creating some like advanced stuff that users cannot make, because like there's not like a one shoe fits all, right? But the cool thing about it is that, like you can ask an agent to create an MCP server for you that runs really well and that does everything that you want it to do. You can ask an agent to create a client for you to handle, a certain type of information or data. Right. So like these organisms of agents, they will become self-sustaining and self-evolving based off what you want them to do, right? Eventually, you'll have like some kind of like operator layer that just like writes code for you and that allows your agents to do more and more complex stuff over time.
And one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is that these agents, these entities, they can access ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, and they can access the newest versions of them because you can upgrade your swarm as time progresses. So as more complex AI gets, swarm network agents can keep right up with that, almost like it's future proof. And from what I can tell, it's only available on SUI network because of Walrus and their storage protocol, that these agents can remember things. And because of the speed, they can communicate extremely fast. And that gives them the ability to operate on that type of level that I don't think any other projects or agents have. And the fact that what you're owning with the Swarm network is a license, so it's an actual asset instead of a service that you pay for monthly, like all the other ones I've seen that are not even going
Mm,
to be as capable.
yeah, yeah, correct.
And so I've seen somebody also wanted me to ask about, you've already, there's already been 7,000 licenses sold.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so we've sold 7,000 licenses, and the maximum supply is 30,000. At 12,000 licenses sold, the price will start to increase, so the value of the asset will start to go up. Um, Reasonably speaking, I think we could achieve that before our TGE. And after that, if if the price performance of the token is good, then I hope that we can uh, have some kind of like an additional rally, and that will push up the prices of these assets. So what that means is that after 6 months, we will end the sale, and we will allow people to sell their licenses on the secondary marketplace that we will publish. So then, like you purchase this asset now for $1,000, but by that time it might be, 2,000, 3,000, maximum it could be 8,000 something. dollars, and you need a license to be able to operate on the platform. And there are certain functions and processes in the lifecycle management of swarms that are going to be gatekept by agent licenses. But there's a dual earning model here. You can either sell it, or you can lease it, or you can use it yourself. So do you want to build your own swarm, or do you want to have somebody else use your license to build a swarm, or like how do you want to go about it? There's multiple ways out for you essentially.
Yannick,
Mm.
what are the benefits of having multiple licenses?
Sorry?
What are the benefits of having multiple licenses? I'm assuming you can build more powerful swarms uh, with combining licenses together, right? Either from an individual owning multiple licenses, or I guess pulling together with other license owners to create this this swarm idea.
Yeah, so each license will have like a limit to how many um, active deployments it can have. So like there's like a certain infrastructure that has to be maintained, right? So we cannot just have one license to create like an infinite amount of swarms and create infinite amount of assets for those swarms. So each license will have like a maximum amount of active swarms that it can operate at any given time. And that is still a very generous number. It's not some like, like one or two swarms. It will be in the multiples.
And Yannick,
Additional,
one had a question for you. Say like me and Richie wanted to use our licenses together. Like, could we make a swarm using both of ours together,
well,
even though we own separate ones?
yeah, you'd only need one, but what you can do is, so what you can do with a agent license is it's essentially unlocks the feature for you to launch an asset for that swarm as well. So you can create an ownership structure for that, right? So let's say like, okay, you want to go 50-50 with Richie, then you allocate a certain percentage of the supply of that asset to the team, which is you and Richie, and the rest will go to the community or to development or whatever you want to do, right? And then you launch that asset, and that's how you can think about it. So uh, you 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 can do it like that, or if you actually want to have like a mix of different clusters, right, belonging to different people, then Richie can use his agent license to create a bunch of clusters, and then you can use your agent license to create a bunch of clusters, and then you can together launch a swarm. But you'd only need to use like one slot for either of your licenses to then eventually launch a swarm asset. But you don't have to launch a swarm asset. You can also just keep creating clusters and add them to other people's swarms, right? So that's how you can think about it. But another benefit, obviously, for holding multiple licenses is that, um, first of all, you get more tokens, right? Second of all, you get more boosters of tokens. You get access to bonus pools and so on. Third of all, you can sell them probably at a higher price later on. No promises. This is not financial advice. And you can also, if you really want to go crazy, you can really maximize the amount of clusters and swarms you can eventually operate on the platform if you have more licenses.
Okay, and some people are asking how were you able to get a grant from Google at the starting, and then now I see that Swarm Network is the official fact checker for Google, and that just was released recently. So if you could tell us more about that and what that means and how Google is going to be implementing it.
Yeah, so Rollup News is the official fact checker for Swarm, for Google, sorry. So not Swarm Network. So we use Swarm Network's tech stack to build Rollup News, and Rollup News is the official fact checker. So essentially, we are the first. People don't realize this, but we are the first fully autonomous organization that is servicing Google. And I think that's something interesting, but I mean, like people don't understand this. So what that means is that Google has this fact checking kind of like a search and database where they if you want to know if you only want to see information that's verified, you can use like a certain search function in Google, and we are the one providing data for this, and we are the one providing like links for people that want to find like verified information. So we are like an authority within the Google network of verifiers that verifies content and displays that content to users. So that's
So
something.
they're not really going to give you the credit up front. They're just using it as a fact checker and then displaying it as their own information.
No. They will use our links.
Oh, great. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
cool.
They're using our links. So you will get the search result with like this, like here, the information. It's fact checked by Rollup News, and if you click on it, it goes to a rollup. So that's
I
very
have
interesting.
some examples on the Jumbotron. There is a Roll Up News reply up there, as well as some stuff from Costas Crypto. A lot of cool stuff on the Jumbotron that people can see.
Yeah, nice. And yeah, so I have a connection with Google. I also was able to get a Google and a Microsoft grant for the other project that I was involved in earlier, before Swarm, which was also an AI agent based project. And that relationship I maintained, and yeah, uh, like the people at Google, they love to support new businesses, and ours was one that they found that they could support, and they gave us a substantial grant. So like it's multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of infrastructure cost that we don't have to pay, and that's really great for us because there's still a lot of like Web2 infra that we need to maintain and build because agents, they don't just purely live on the Web3, right, on the blockchain. They interface with the blockchain, but still there's still a
And
lot of
then
infrastructure that has to be built.
also about the SUI Hub cohorts. What does that mean for Swarm Network and Myson Labs? Do they help provide funding or access to walrus?
Yeah.
What does it mean that you were picked for that project?
Yeah, so we received a investment. That's one. And there's a 12-week program that allows us to interface with SUI, with Mysten Labs, with a lot of the partners, with regulators, with law firms, with market makers, with like literally anybody that we want to speak to within the ecosystem and the partners, we get access to. So to give you an example, I had like a nice spaces with Costas the other week. For example, yesterday I had a call with a very talented lady from Miston Labs to talk about kind of like product, marketing, branding. So we get access to them, and they're very talented people, and they give us their opinions and their thoughts, and they help us to
And
manage integration. So we also have like technical office hours with Miston Labs. So we get access to their tech team, and they are able to help us with certain things. And then we have like marketing office hours to help us with marketing and like branding and community, like a bunch of stuff.
yeah, that's amazing. So I'm not sure if did you want to take any questions from any of the listeners here,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
any other
sure.
thing in particular that you wanted to go over?
Um,
And
and
also, oh yeah, they wanted to know how do they participate in the roll up news the airdrop campaign, because I posted something about that on the Jumbotron. How can people participate if they don't have a license and they can earn an airdrop by using the roll up news feature? Because I think
yeah,
we didn't go into too much detail about that.
yeah. So what you do is you just tag roll up under a post, as we described, and then you can check your leaderboard on the status on the website. So you can go to rollup.news and then you click on leaderboard and you find your X username, and you will see how many points you have and how many roll-ups you've done. Right now there's a limit to 50 roll-ups per day. And then eventually you'll be able to come to the claim dashboard, to this dashboard probably on the weekend. You'll be able to connect your wallet and claim your account. And then, once we go TGE, you'll be able to just claim the tokens there.
So people can earn actual Swarm token just for using the protocol, the rollup news
Yeah,
protocol.
yeah, not just Swarm tokens, but also the rollup news tokens, the Truth Swarm token. So you
Okay.
get it's a double whammy. So yes, you get allocation for the Swarm launch, but you also get allocation for the rollup news Truth Swarm launch. So um, like when we talk about full lifecycle management, eventually you'll be able to launch your own Swarm assets, and the first couple of Swarm assets we will launch by ourselves as the foundation. So like the Truth Swarm and the rollup news is like the first one. And that will be fully community owned, by the way.
We have
Awesome.
the red alert with her hand up. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, Richie,
Sure.
thank you so much. And thanks to Wise. I really wanted to meet you, and I actually asked him if we could have you on, because he
Cool.
was telling me all about Swarm Network and Roll Up News. And one of the first things I'm going to do when I'm not like messing with the space is to make sure I'm all plugged into that so that I can take advantage. But I was also just curious and wanted to circle back to something you said, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes ago about how, once you achieved a certain amount of things in life that you realized, oh yeah, you wanted to make more of an impact and
Yeah.
things like that with Swarm. So I actually invited somebody here who didn't know anything about SUI, and he's got his own blockchain. But I told him you should build on Walrus, and he's like, yes, cool, I'm sold. um and I'm sure he can tell you a little bit more about what he does if he's able to speak. But I know your token is on Sui. Would you possibly entertain partnering with somebody if they were also building on Walrus? And his blockchain is entirely dedicated to healthcare. He is, the code father, does decentralized science. And I mean, honestly, it's really incredible because they're partnered with several different hospitals and doctors and all kinds of things. And he is really making an impact because he built his own blockchain because he realized with all the compliance issues that he couldn't do it on another blockchain. And so
Mm.
to make an impact, that's why he did what he's doing. But I said you could make a larger impact if you built and perhaps possibly collaborated with Walrus. He's very interested in that. But it sounds like, especially because AI and DeSci go together, that
Mm.
perhaps there may be. Would you be open to something like that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, there's a multitude of questions nested within what you just said. And I think the first thing
I'm
is like,
sorry.
no, that's okay. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, that's a really great cause. And I applaud people who go the less hyped route, in terms of how we implement blockchain technology, which is really great. And I think the world needs more of those kind of people that really do, care, and they do chase not just the most shiny objects, but the objects that are probably going to have the most long-term benefit to society as a whole. I think that's very amendable, and
There's
yeah, that's really
there's
great.
one thing that I haven't looked into yet. I'm not sure if other blockchains can interact with Walrus because it's actually made by Myson Labs. It's a Myson Labs storage
Well,
protocol. So I'm
well,
not sure if that would be possible from another chain, but it might be.
well,
What? It's
like,
just storage.
well, I mean, the the thing which I was gonna say next is that um yes, we're on SUI, but that doesn't mean that we cannot interface with other blockchains and that our agents will not be able to interface with other blockchains. It's just that a lot of the important infrastructure and settlement that we build and operate our business model on. So let's say like inter-agent settlement, like payments from businesses to swarms, asset launches, and so on. Like those will be on SUI, but it doesn't mean that an agent cannot just plug into another blockchain and like transact and operate on that blockchain. but there are still fundamental issues there because, like an agent can become a kind of like interoperability node between blockchains, but you still need to have like a trustable and verifiable layer in between. That's why we're building this ZK protocol, which interfaces with SUI. It settles on SUI, um, so that we can create this security and this privacy, but remain, like remain accurate even as we are transacting or as we are storing or as we are operating across different blockchains, right? So the reason, one of the reasons why I'm really hyped about rollup news is because essentially, now it's an information fact checking tool, but the truth swarm that is powering it can be so much more than that, and it's already so much more than that. It's just that we don't have an interface for it yet, but it can be used as like an oracle, for example, right? But now it's not an oracle that's just taking streams like Chainlink, for example, which is a very centralized solution still, but it's really decentralized and it's owned across the community, right? Multiple people can own it, uh, like multiple different types of interest that come along with the ownership. No central authority and very rapid rate of settlement of claims, and sending and verifying data across chains is definitely something that could be possible using AI. So yeah, so this is a new paradigm for interoperability. So definitely would be interested to like see how far we can push that eventually.
Well, he's in the audience, and if he's available, I mean, I'm sure, if you want to just say hello to him right now, it's Gianluca De Novi,
Well,
if he's available.
if anyone has a question and wants to speak, just put a request, because as of right now, no one else has requested. I know a lot of people, are kind of nervous to speak up, so I asked the most amount of questions I could that I believe the people wanted to ask, as well as some of the ones that I was already asked to ask about. But if there's anyone else,
Oh, I have a question
go
about
ahead.
the rollup. So I noticed that when I was looking at the leaderboard yesterday, some of the numbers of rollups that are being you know interacted with per user is huge. I had no idea the amount of numbers that rollup was doing. Um, what kind of
Yeah.
challenges? What kind of challenges have you met with the sheer demand that rollups actually seeing? I hadn't like because I
Yeah,
saw it
bro,
tweet from
that
you
is
like a
It
couple
was
of
so
weeks ago.
popular that
we
it
had
broke the
to
whole entire internet.
we had to shut it down, man. Like we had to shut it down
Wow, wow.
because so last week, I think it was like about a week ago, maybe a little bit longer than a week ago. We didn't put the limits on anything yet. So, and we were also trying to really fulfill every single request. So we were getting rate limited by Twitter because we were replying too quickly and too often within the span of like a few seconds. So I think it's like every few seconds you're allowed to make so many replies, and we're hitting the rate limit all the time because too many rollups were being made. Like um so I guess like around last week we've probably analyzed around like 2 million claims. And there have been more than 128,000 users that have used Rollup, and each user did multiple rollups, right? And the quality of the rollups is pretty good. Like people are rolling up like relatively interesting stuff. And people that are rolling up like not that great stuff, they're getting banned. So there were some people that are like rolling up porn articles and this kind of stuff, and we immediately banned those people. So we have some like some security checks built in as well. So you really will be rewarded for the quality of your rollups in the end. And if you perform like bad quality rollups, we'll just deduct points from your dashboard eventually. So yeah, we had to get, so we have another account which is called Omega the Doge. Omega the Doge is a very mysterious aspect of our ecosystem. Nobody really knows what he's up to. He's autonomous. He's autonomous. And we had to get Omega the Doge to subscribe to the pro plan for X API, so we could still fulfill a lot of the other requests because we weren't allowed to make more calls on our official API. We like hit the 4 million limit or something like that. So yeah,
So
so we had to we
for
had we had to we had to divert a bit, but yeah, everything is back on track right now. So, but because we had to, we had to make sure we can service everybody, we rate limited everybody to 50 rollups per day.
and you still have to follow Omega the Doge for the rollups to work properly still, or is that not true?
No, Omega the Doge, he just replies to anybody that follows rollup.
Okay. And Dunny, I see that you requested to speak. He's actually a friend of mine, and he's really into AI. We talk a lot about our AI, endeavors, and he makes some really good content with AI. So, Dunny, if you have a question for Yannick, it'd be great to hear from you, since I know you really like AI.
I do, yeah, and I've been waiting for this all week since I knew Yannick was coming on. I'm a big follower of the Swarm agents and network. The AI singularity is coming, and I think it's so cool that Rollup could potentially be working with Google, or they already are, that there can be an arbiter of truth and fact checking, and then that's almost like reality creating on the ways that that's going to affect the world. So that is unreal and really cool. I wanted to circle back on Yannick, and he said he had some new perspectives on being a new dad, and I'm just wondering what kind of cool new perspectives he was having
Love that.
recently.
That's a wonderful question, man. Yeah, there's something really special about becoming a father. First of all, I hadn't expected it to be such a wonderful experience, like the experience of like bringing the child into the world. That whole process, I couldn't, I could never have imagined that it would be such a wonderful moments, like holding your child for the first time and getting to interact with the child and seeing that it's healthy and great. And it's a boy, by the way. And yeah, so the first thing I noticed was that your sense of purpose really shifts from being kind of like centered within you to now transferring like your purpose to your child entirely. Like it was like this moment of like purpose transfer, which was really interesting because before that, like I would always think like, okay, so how can I make an impact? How can I do this thing? Like, how can, you are so central to your life and to your world. Even you're married, even you have parents and you have siblings, but you're you're really centered around yourself because you're still trying to find your way into this world and your ultimate purpose has not maybe been defined yet. And I don't think that, your work or the things that you do are your ultimate purpose. I think, like having a child is probably one of those like really, really, really high spiritually ranked purposes. And that's really what I felt. And then, a lot less time for bullshit things. I need to be much more, I know I've always been very, like um hyper focused and very rigid with how I schedule my days and my time. But now I really don't have time for small things. Like I really don't have time for bullshit. Like it's like, okay, everything has its place in my life now. I know what's ultimately important and I can really easily to discard all the things which are not that important. But maybe that I kind of like enjoyed, or maybe I hadn't really thought about why I was doing certain things the way I was doing them. And but now, it's just this clarity, like this really, really, really profound clarity, because it's not just, life is not anymore about trying to figure out what I want to do. No, now everything that I do has a direct, immediate effect on my child. And that is something which is very, 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 very powerful. That is a really, really powerful thing. And to be honest, if you had asked me like 5 years ago if I would ever have children, I would probably say no.
Yannick, have you heard of the chemical called oxytocin, where it's actually like a chemical reaction that happens when you're bonding with your child?
Yeah. It's also something um that you generate more or that you release in your brain when you're hugging like loved ones and stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yannick. That's a beautiful answer, and I like that it's brought balance and perspective and prioritizing the important things in your life. And it sounds like you got a really good head on your shoulders and a nice family. So thank you for sharing that. And keep following your project because I think it's really cool what you're building and doing.
Thank you
It
for the
it
question, man.
it definitely is cliche, but having a child definitely changes you like a lot more than anything else, I believe, at least it was for me.
Yeah, and people say that it takes away your freedom, but I think it's the opposite. If you can deal with, if you can deal with yourself and you can deal with your child and your family, it gives you more freedom, probably.
100%. Um, was there another question? I know RJ is a speaker. I don't know if you had a question for Yannick, RJ.
Yeah, I was actually, hi, Yannick, nice to meet you. I'm RJ. I am
And
developing Harmony Hub, a Web3 platform for music artists where they can mint and launch their music
awesome.
NFTs, yeah, among other things. But I was just looking at your website and I'm really curious. I really want to launch an AI agent for Harmony Hub. I think it would be amazing. And I don't know, is that something that I'm sorry, I came into the space a little late, so I missed your pitch and what you do. I'm not super familiar with Swarm Network, so I'm really interested on what you have going on as far as AI swarming and how that works and if that's integratable into platforms like mine, like I'm developing.
Yeah, I think it will definitely be possible. So we're launching the platform in Q3, which allows you to use natural language to create agent clusters and add those clusters in a combination to create swarms. And so you can just, like if you start now with kind of like scoping out using just natural language in a document what you want to be able to achieve, by the time the platform comes out, you can just copy that document and you can post it. You can, sorry, you can just copy it and you can use that as a base for us to, rapidly generate your agent clusters, and then you can probably tweak that very easily. So it always
Okay.
like this process always starts with what do you want to achieve, and that is a really important question because I see a lot of people thinking about this. They're like, oh, like I want to create like a cluster to solve this problem or that problem. But usually the problems they are not big enough. They're like vanity problems. They're problems that you think they're nice to solve, but actually, like when you get an agent to do it, you're like, okay, maybe it's not that good. Maybe, it's not such a great problem to outsource to an autonomous organization. So the way I would think about this is, is like you need to think in in business functions, right? So you think like, okay, well, what is a business function which I'm struggling with right now, which I would like to automate and which is reasonable to automate, right? What is it gonna be? And then really, think about that deeply. And then like you can try to get some initial feedback on how an agent would handle a certain process. You can spin up a GPT and you can see, if I give an agent this kind of information and how does it interpret this information and how can I make sure that it interprets it correctly so that you have some experience in tweaking a prompt, because that's what you will be able to do eventually once you have like, let's say like a cluster of 10 agents. Doesn't mean that it's like set in stone and that's what it's going to be, like you still have that 20% or that 15% of the optimization to reach 100% efficiency. That's on you, which which is really simple, but it requires some understanding of how agents work, right? And how they change as you change some parameters around. And it's all using natural language, so that's why I really like to play around with like GPTs, for example, because it's a really good exercise for thinking about how to make an agent behave better. It's kind of like using natural language to write a set of instructions for better behavior. And then, yeah, the tools you don't have to worry about too much because the tools, they can be self-generated. And if you have like certain endpoints that you want to interface with, so for example, maybe you have certain services that you use and, they have APIs, so then it will be really interesting, but also really easy to integrate with those because the agents can do that by themselves.
Okay, well, yeah, because the reason I asked, so there's going to be three different things, three different platforms within Harmony Hub. So the first one is Melody Mint, and that's going to be the launch pad where you can mint and launch the NFTs, the music NFTs. And then the second one is the Chord Collective, where it's going to be like the marketplace for the NFTs where you can buy, sell, and trade and stake or lock up. And then the third is going to be Soundstream. So my goal is I think a swarm would be great because there's several different platforms within the hub. And
Mm,
I'm also trying to onboard people through music, in real life. Like, and I want this to be accessible like globally. So like, I want people to be able to buy with fiat or crypto, and just make it very user friendly. And so I feel like it would be super beneficial. I don't know. I really would love to pick your brain at some point if you have time at a later date. Not obviously not right this second, but I have so many questions, and maybe you can help me with them because I'm not super familiar with AI agents. I'm trying to learn, but I'm self-taught in all of this stuff, and it's a little confusing. So just the way you're breaking it down is actually giving me a way better idea of how to go about that. I do use AI often. I don't necessarily use it for education, but I use it for like I do generative text and stuff like that. I'm very creative and I
mm.
design art and stuff like that. So
RJ,
I mean,
remember, I'm helping you with your project. I know a lot about AI, and I'm working really close with Swarm Network, and I know all about it. I can explain all that stuff for you anytime because I'm already going to help you with what you're doing. I can tell you exactly how it can work for your model.
as far as integrating and stuff like that, I mean, it's on a huge scale. So I mean, I would love to talk to both of you about it.
Yeah,
Obviously, as
feel
you
feel
know,
free
um,
to feel free to follow me and DM me on Twitter.
okay, I did shoot you a follow, so thank you for that.
Awesome.
Just remember, I think maybe you missed, like these are not LLMs like GPT and Grok. These are autonomous agents that can actually access ChatGPT and Grok and Cloud and use them all to their advantage. And then it uses Walrus as a storage layer so it can remember things and they can talk to each other. You can assign tasks to them. You can have one agent be a reception for people wanting to apply to Harmony Hub. You could have another one act as like a customer service agent. You could have another one to act as a moderator for your Telegram or Discord. Anything that you can assign to a human, you can have one of these agents be assigned to, and they can all talk to each other and have different authority levels. So you can even ask ChatGPT, like, what can I do with an agent swarm? And you'll get some incredible answers.
Well, thank
Hmm.
you. I mean, it sounds amazing. I definitely could use the help. I know that, especially as things get developed more. I think it would be really beneficial for the platform as a whole, especially with onboarding and with educating and stuff like that. I think it's a great idea. So, anyways, thank you so much for your time, Chief. I super appreciate you. I'm really, really interested, and I would love to chat at a future date, in you too, wise. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
He's Chief
Thanks,
Truth, but
RJ.
his name is Yannick Myson. He is the Chief Truth, though.
Okay, Yannick. Thank you so much, Yannick. It was very nice to meet you.
You too.
Red, you have another commentary?
Well, of course, it's me. I'm not shy. So since he is actually Chief Truth, I mean, I've just heard some sort of mixed things about this. So, um, do you see Swarm Network being able to integrate neuromorphic AI in the future to boost data processing in decision making? Um, and are there maybe benefits and challenges that might arise from using this? Or do you think that neuromorphic AI is bullshit because you are Chief Truth?
Um, so in terms of neuromorphic, you mean the computer chip neuromorphic, like physical artificial neurons?
No, no. I mean, so tradition right now, as we know, I mean, AI is all, it's all generative, as we know, because we have to prompt it. But like
Mm.
but some people are saying it's bullshit, like it's pseudoscience. But
Oh,
it's,
okay.
yeah, like I need it because it's supposed to be able to be AI that's able to make decisions based on
Right.
previous experiences, closer to like the human mind. But some people
Right.
have been telling me it's bullshit.
So, okay, so when you say neuromorphic like AI, you mean like that mimics the way that a human brain works, right?
Yeah, not always having to be prompted. Do you think it's
Not,
bullshit?
yeah. Okay, no. So okay, I'm not an expert in this, but my CTO always talks about this. So I will just quote him. So what he always talks about is that there has to be a certain type of heartbeat, right? So what does it mean, a heartbeat? A heartbeat means that there has to be a triggering event, right? So for our, like for us, like our heartbeat sends the blood to our, brain and our muscles, and it distributes oxygen and so on. So that is kind of like the fuel that keeps us going. But that doesn't necessarily work the same way for a LLM, right? Especially now if we're talking about LLMs. So an LLM needs a different type of trigger, right? So an LLM needs an input, right? And so arguably you could say that we humans also constantly have inputs, right? So if you now start to embody an LLM and you give it access to different inputs, so sensory inputs, for example, like optics, like all audio, maybe like touch sensors. Obviously, those are all, able to be translated into certain signals, and those signals, they can become inputs. So as long as you have a continuous stream of inputs, you can have a reactionary process, right? So like it's a ongoing process that it all the time triggers this base model, a large language model. But the large language model is not the core. Okay, it might be the core, but it's not the sole process that's going on, right? You can see it as our brain. So our brain has multiple different, like different areas, right? You have your hippocampus, you have your amygdala, you have your whatever, your pineal gland. You have all these different areas of your brain that are responsible for different things. So I categorize an LLM as, like your thinking brain, like you're 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 able to speak, you're able to kind of like rationalize through you think, you're conscious, but you're rationally conscious. You're thinking about things. So that's a function that an LLM can perform. But you cannot expect an LLM to like process like auditory signals. You cannot you cannot like expect your LLM to process like all the visual cues. No, you have different parts of your brain that take care of that, right? So it's more so about like if you really want to have this like kind of like closer to sentient um um like robot, right? So then LLM is just a small part of it, and its brain would be made up out of multiple different like models. So like maybe different models that are maybe like diffusion models, like audio models, like more like the models that they use in robotics and so on. And then LLM will just be like kind of like this, like the conscious on top of that, and the rest of the models will be more subconscious. But probably the LLM has some executive power over the less conscious
So,
models that
so
it would use.
Yannick, from what I'm reading, it's like, would you believe that AI can mimic the way biological neurons fire? Like, can it actually like communicate properly with the human body? Like, say for a prosthetic arm or something like that. Do you think AI would be able to interpret these signals from the
Oh yeah,
brain?
100%. I mean, yes, 100%. Because
Okay.
it's all about coding and decoding signals, right? So it it doesn't have to be compatible with our. So if you want, so you let's say like let's say like you go really far into the future and you put like a artificial brain on a human body. All you'd have to do is to make sure that the codes, the signals that it receives, are interpretable by the artificial brain. That means that there's a certain type of, you know, like there's like probably like a transformer in between that like that turns natural signals into electronic, you know, probably higher electronic, higher stimulated signals, something like that. But yeah, so like you will never get a human. You will never replicate a human brain you, this way, right? It's different things. It doesn't mean that they're incompatible with each other. You need a translation in between, right? Like think about it.
Wouldn't this be the opposite of like the brain in a vat, or something like they did on the episode um on The Simpsons one time, where maybe
Futurama.
we're Futurama. That's right, yeah, Futurama.
Yeah,
Like
Futurama.
maybe
Yeah.
we're all just we're not actually experiencing this. We're just being fed these experiences, almost like it's a simulation. Because to us, as long as we're being fed the same signals, we would be feeling and experiencing the same thing. So it's kind of like that, but the opposite.
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
who
that's getting
knows,
pretty
right?
deep.
I can talk a lot about, you know, my kind of like vision on this, but it's not grounded in anything, you know. But 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 if you look around, look like the second person in the world just had a Neuralink implant, right? Like that's a brain-computer interface that interprets your brain signals and translates it into things like speech and, you know, allows you to move cursors and allows you to interact with, you
Oh,
know,
Yannick, I
laptop.
don't know if you've seen the most recent update. Now it's not just about moving cursors. This guy's able to play Call of Duty at a very professional level with
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Neuralink.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah. I
getting really
know.
wild.
I know. And you know, like he's able to type into his computer using his mind. You know, like that is some really fucking advanced shit. And that's the reality of it. So I don't really understand why people have such a pessimistic view on, you know, like on computer science and robotics and LLMs and yeah, sure. Like I mean like we're not trying to replicate humans, right? Like if you talk about like neuromorphic like or just like human identical to human cognitive function in a computer chip, no, it's not a brain. It's not a brain. It's a computer chip, right? It's like completely different things. Well, what's important? Well, it's important what you can do with it, right? Can it become an extension of our cognitive capacities? Can it improve our cognitive capacities in such a way that we can utilize it to build a better world? I think the answer is yes, and I think that's what's the most important. So who cares if it's not, you know, like the same as a human is? Like it doesn't matter. Is it then still intelligence? Yeah, I think so because it's a lot smarter than most of people, you know, most of us, right? Like I'm definitely not smarter than a large language model. Like large language model is way, 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 way more knowledgeable than I am. And yes, it does hallucinate, maybe like even 80% of the time, but it seems like to be hallucinating pretty correctly. And then, you know, like you go back to like, you know, take that notion of hallucination back to what we're just talking about the brain in the vat kind of Futurama thing, or maybe take it back to like, you know, like religions where in some religions that they say that we're just all dreaming, right? Like, yeah, just you're touching on the subjectivity of experience and you're abstracting the problem, you know, into some kind of like
Well,
theoretical realm, and
on a
nobody
more
knows the answer
serious
to that.
note, I feel personally like people shouldn't be afraid of AI taking over, because to me, where I see it going and what it's already doing for me is it's an augmentation. It's a symbiosis with humans where we work together and we exploit the advantages of AI to improve what we're already doing. I don't think they're ever going to just take on their own thing and start forming their own agendas. Like, I just don't see that
Yeah.
happening.
And also, you know, like, you know, EMP devices, right? Like an EMP
Yeah.
device is able to
Yeah.
like
It could shut everything down
short
immediately.
short circuit literally any type of electronic device. So if you're afraid of like AI taking over, you know, like the world, like embodied AI robots taking over the world, well, there's a really simple solution for that because they have an off button. Like your off
Exactly.
button is a bullet in your chest. Their off button is like Their
Electromagnetic pulse.
yes, an electromagnetic pulse that short circuits or maybe even fries their chips, their whatever.
There was a
So,
solar flare over Canada, a long time ago where there wasn't much technology then, but if it was today, it would have taken out power grids and all kinds of stuff, that came from a solar flare, which was kind of like a mega EMP.
yeah,
So it's a good thing it happened when it did.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So,
um,
yeah, I mean, let's take one more question, and then after
yeah,
that, little
little
shits.
shits.
What's up?
Hey guys, I have a question for Yannick, and I'm going to give a brief talk just to kind of lead up to the question. So 3 years ago, I worked on a AI project. It was for predicting predicting results in sporting contests.
Hmm.
We focused mostly on the NFL, but we worked with a professor in Germany that he was doing his project for different purposes, more for like the coaches of the teams, but predicting matches in soccer over there and different aspects of that. So we dive deep on the topic of training AI models, what variables to apply as edges and vertices, and the weights to give each variable, and machine learning. And we actually saw a phenomena where they applied the the variable of home or away advantage to the matches.
Hmm.
And the AI algorithm actually, through machine learning, updated itself and lowered the weight associated to that value. And then the following year, after being updated with the results of matches, completely eliminated that. And we're not exactly sure why, but we think it didn't. It, that the AI, in a sense, thought that the home or away advantage in that sport wasn't a huge factor.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
from what I gather, Swarm Network is accessing large language models to, to utilize them for what you're doing. So, my question is just if you can just speak on the aspect of training the AI models, and is there any machine learning involved and things of that nature?
Yeah, sure. So the training of models is really interesting because, like as you said, um, it's essentially a very complicated form of statistical computations that it does, right? So you have like if you understand statistics and you understand statistical analysis, then you can relatively easily grasp on what happens inside a large language model because it's all kind of like probabilities, right? It's all predictions. It's all statistical and mathematical equations, if you really want to break it down. So what is important there is that your input data is accurate. And I think that right now it's not that much about like trying to train new large language models because you as a new, let's say, startup, it's going to be hard for you to keep up with the big boys because they have much more access to much more data and much more capability in terms of manpower and time, to keep training bigger models. So there's not really any opportunity for us. But where there is opportunity for us is in fine-tuning models. And what that means is that, okay, well, large language models, just like humans, they are very general purpose, right? And they might or might not be good at certain things. But there are certain tasks which require like very specific expertise and very specific knowledge in the field. So that works very similarly in humans, right? So like you as a human, you might have like a super specific skill. So let's say like you're a designer, right? So UI UX designer. So your expertise is in that field. So you know a lot of things which are really not obvious. They're not common knowledge, right? So they're derived from your experience and other people's experience that you've interfaced with, and maybe like courses that you took and so on. So they're not like common knowledge in public domain, right? You could probably find it out like somehow like by piecing together like a bunch of YouTube videos and maybe different courses online and so on. And so you could find it online, but it's not like readily and logically available. So in those situations, you would probably want to, if you wanted to, have a model that is like extremely good at thinking through like UX design problems, then you could probably take a lot of data that has been gathered in that field, right? And you could probably train a model using that data specifically, and you could structure its output in a specific manner. So you can give it a lot of examples, essentially. You're saying like, with those examples, which is data, you say like, here's what I want you to sound like. Here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to look at. Here's what I want you to be good at. And you can train a model and then fine tune a model. Sorry, not train a model. So fine tuning means you take a base model, you train it another time on more data, specific data, like what we just discussed, and it will become like really good at that specific thing that you're trying to train it for. It's a much more cheaper version, and it kind of like creates like these experts, right? So, um, how does that relate to the story that you told? Well, I think that this is a way through which we can kind of like create a very dynamic mix of different models that have different expertises, but they can exhibit some kind of like, I don't like to say emergent behavior, but in your case, it seems to be like emergent behavior because what is emergent about it is that it creates new pathways and it comes up with a solution to a problem which you didn't see, right? So in your case, the people like contribute a lot of weight to the like whether it's a home game or not, right? But apparently, like from a statistical perspective, there was not enough relationship between the hypothesis and what the machine was learning to accurately use that as a judging factor, right? So you could see it the same way for these large language models that are fine-tuned. Like if you put them together, they'll probably exhibit some pretty interesting behavior, which you couldn't have imagined like yourself. But it doesn't mean that you couldn't have calculated it yourself, because probably if you would, spend a lot of time doing statistical analysis and probably some mapping, then you'd be able to derive a similar or, maybe like near similar conclusion as to what kind of behavior the system should or could potentially exhibit, right? And one thing I want to mention is that they're not all, and the reason why, for example, in statistical analysis and things like, like using a large language model for e-commerce, for example, like the reason why people will train like using different types of data sets and retrain or roll back is because sometimes, like you train more, but the efficiency doesn't increase, right? You train a model to become better at like suggesting, content. Maybe you've overtrained the model. Maybe it's just getting confused, and maybe like a previous version was actually better. So there's, like it doesn't always mean that you always, can keep continuing to optimize. There's not like an endless optimization. There's also cost, just like a human brain. It's like the more you put in, the more you have in there, but also the harder it's gonna be for you to like remember very specific things potentially. And then you will need some certain kinds of triggers to initiate this memory recall, and you'll be able to retrieve information. But like if you only have a very narrow specific set of information that you always work with in your brain, then it's really easy to recall, right? So the same works for those models. It's not like I don't think, I mean, like I don't have enough knowledge to say this for sure, but it seems like from what I've read and the research papers that have come out recently, that's not infinitely scalable in that manner.
And Yannick, so I know that you have to get going to another meeting soon, so I wanted to ask you what you wanted to say to kind of end what your goal is here, and also, of course, what everyone always asks, do you have any alpha for us to know about what's coming up in the future?
Yeah, I can give you like a little bit of alpha. So probably in the next couple of days, we'll have like Wallet Connect and some new quests up for rollup. So like stay tuned for that and make sure you're early, because like if you're early, you can get more points because they're going to be rate limited per day because we have too many users. And then yeah, I mean, we are working really, really hard on the TGE. So that's like our main focus right now is getting everybody lined up, and we are making a lot of great progress on this. So that is one thing I want to share too.
If possible,
And
could you touch maybe on the recent partnership with the other AI agent?
which one are you referring to? The
The
Pundu?
partnership, yeah, that one.
Yeah, so we are cross integrating with a lot of the other AI kind of like platforms and frameworks and so on. So what we're trying to do is allow people to bring in agents into their clusters, and those agents they will obviously have to use, some kind of they'll have to solicit some kind of like access through agent license leases, for example, to become part of your cluster or your swarm. But we're opening up and we're integrating with a lot of AI, yeah, agent builders, agent frameworks, and so on, so that you can, allow them to enter your clusters too. So this is really kind of like our effort into trying to onboard a lot of people onto our standards so that the whole space becomes more interoperable.
And you believe the TGE is still set for sometime in quarter 2?
I mean, we're working very hard. I'm not gonna promise it, but we're working on it. But it also really depends on, like the
And
altcoin.
SUI just did pass $4, and Bitcoin went over 100,000. I don't know if you've been
Yeah.
checking the charts, but it's cooking. So hopefully it stays that way.
Yes, yes. I really hope that we can persist this trend. Like at 102 is really great. Um, but yeah, so the altcoin movements seem to be very positive in terms of like the top like 100, 200. But what is more important is that, the lower rank of assets, the new asset launches, they go very well. But anyways, I mean, it seems like it's a good time for us to go.
Yeah, thank you so much, Yannick. I really appreciate you coming on here. It was a pleasure. SUI and AI are both of my passions, so this project was like the most amazing thing ever that I've seen. And I've been watching since you did the first AMA with Richie on Crypto Mischief, way back when. So very excited that you were able to be able to show up here and talk about to a different community about what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Yannick.
And
Yeah,
we
all
will.
good.
Really good catching
Yeah.
up with you.
Thanks, guys. Yes, thanks, guys.
Thanks
Thanks,
for
thanks,
letting us.
thanks for having me again.
Thanks for letting us pick your brain.
No worries, no worries.
And I'll
That's
be
great.
continuing this space to answer questions as best I can with Richie and stuff if people have any more questions. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate
Sure.
it.
Bye bye, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Yannick. Right on.
Nice.
That was amazing. I'm so
Yeah.
glad this is a recorded space because man, I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to bookmark
Oh,
it
oh,
and
it's
go back
better.
and
Red
listen.
Alert. It's even better than that. I believe Richie has been recording this on his YouTube channel the whole time.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
yeah, it's there. It's still recording actually. Doing its
Yeah,
thing.
you know,
That's
you guys can go to
amazing.
Crypto Mischief YouTube, and it's live. You know, and everything on here is going to be on his channel as well as recorded on the space. Because the cool thing about having it recorded on YouTube is you can see so much more. Because when you listen to a space on record, it's not or on replay, it's not the same. I think sometimes the jumbotron, everything was up there is missing, and it's just a lot better having that whole visual field. And you know, most likely he was probably pulling up stuff that we were talking about,
Actually,
since I haven't been.
I was cleaning my house. My wife's been away for 6 days, and she's coming back today. So I was like, okay, I better Uber, better do the dishes, better clean the clothes.
Yeah, our spaces go for quite a long time. Sometimes he even gets in a workout in between,
Yeah,
you
sometimes.
know, breaks on the spaces.
That's
So
actually why I like Twitter Spaces because you can really multitask. I like, I'm a very distractible person at times, so I can actually multitask while listening, getting, meeting new people, meeting friends, and getting new information. Then also can kind of do the other things we're supposed to do.
yeah,
It's good.
compared to like an actual meeting in person where you have to be like focused and looking and paying attention, on these you can be, you know, in the bathtub or you
Yeah.
know whatever. And
I think one of the things for Swarm, the one of the blocks that people have is the idea that you have to purchase the license because it is quite an investment to get to get your own license to use their agents and their swarms once they launch is $999, which um, can block some people thinking, that's quite a lot to invest into like an AI basically, because we're used to paying $20 a month for ChatGPT or all the other ones we use, right? But then there is the caveat that you're earning their token simultaneously while waiting for the AI agent to launch, which will give you, hopefully, as I'm pretty confident that Swarm's going to be the AI project launching in SUI this year,
hundred
which is why I
percent.
went into it. So, but it is, it's an investment. So that's something also to consider. But I'd say for anyone who's looking to get an edge with AI and build out something that's got a more, like he said, like a more business-minded scope, then definitely Swarm is something that you should be looking into because I'm planning to do that.
I think it's
Doing it.
amazing just the fact that you can have several different agents doing different things. I think it really does utilize all aspects of trying to run a business on chain, and the fact that everything is, like truth seeking as well. Like there's nothing hidden, everything's out in the open, there's zero discretion. I like that fact as well. So anyways, just my little input there.
That's something that you guys can all start using right now and even earn, you know, the roll up news token. You actually get paid for using a service that's very helpful. I have an example of one of the roll ups in the jumbotron, and yeah, basically these are not like pay for service, like where you pay monthly for a service. These are actual assets. Um, so you own part of the Swarm network, and it is something that you own. And like you said, you can either use it or rent it out or even sell it and transfer it to someone else. Although I'm definitely not going to be able to do that, or not going to want to do that because I will have a lot of use cases to have these things do for me. And it's not just about cryptocurrency either. There's many different ways you can implement AI agents into your life and help you with almost any kind of business. And the way you could think about it is, if a human can do it, you can program a swarm cluster to do it, and they can work together. Um, and also the fact that this project still has a ways to go before the builder program it comes out and we can use it, that means that all the AI upgrades that happen from right now to the future are going to be accessible. So there's actually going to be things you can do with them that we don't even know are possible right now today, because we don't know how quickly and how far AI will advance by the time they're deployable. And since they can always use the newest model, the newest ChatGPT, the newest Grok, it's going to have access to the best tools and be future proof. And more data is coming on SUI network, on Walrus protocol, and that gives it a whole different advantage. And on the other swarms agents that I looked up, you have to have your own like node at your house, like a really expensive piece of machinery with high powered GPU. These swarm networks, all the compute is done by Swarm Network and SUI. So you don't even need like a really fast computer or anything. You're just deploying these swarms from your phone or your computer, and then it does all that other stuff for you. And yeah, like Richie was saying too, the sooner you get a license, the sooner you start getting an airdrop of tokens every single day. So they kind of do a lot to reward early adopters, and it definitely still is early on in the project. Because after the first 12,000 licenses are sold, the price goes up exponentially. And I think that's when FOMO is going to hit even harder. So it's like they're going to get a lot more expensive real quick.
There's a couple things I've been thinking about, well, that I want to build with it, that I made notes on, actually. Let me find it. So the first one was for ads, like running ads on Google Ads or AdSense, these kind of things. You could actually use the swarms in theory, right? You could run like ad tests with your swarm, and then it would then test them, see how successful they are, allocate budgets for them, and then tune the campaigns on the content or visually to make them more effective, using the digital art, using text, using the budget, using A/B tests to see which ones are working or not. You could essentially just have a ad machine finely tuned for whatever kind of need that you want, for clicks or for someone to follow you or for someone to buy something. I think would be really useful. The other one would be, it's kind of funny, but here in China, they have a social credit score. Don't know if you heard about it.
Yeah.
So you could actually implement with a swarm a social credit score for your own community, right? Essentially, an autonomous swarm that's constantly just monitoring the actions of every single member and assigning them points or bonuses for the actions that they take daily inside the community, which could be pretty fun as well. I've seen similar things actually, which are already around, so I think that one might be quite
From
doable.
from a search I did with GPT, real world use cases, it says one, you can make a swarm of analysts, on chain intelligence, a swarm of writers. You can have a swarm that can create content at scale. You can have a swarm of mods, startup planning, moderation. You can have a swarm of watchdogs, scam detection. You can have content swarms to write blogs, answer emails, run socials. You can have a tech support team like help desk. I'm sure a lot of us have already ran into these type of agents before, where you're talking to customer service chat and it's not a person, it's definitely an AI. And then for real world business, there's research swarms. You can do competitive intel, which is kind of like what Richie was talking about. You can see what's working for other people and you can duplicate, what works for others. And also filing and task management, file organization. There's so many different ways you can program these things to do. It's basically like your imagination is the limit. So I'm already blown away by what AI can do already. So, once these get deployed, it will seem like really kind of black magic sorcery type stuff. I can't wait to see it in action because it sounds almost too good to be true. Some of the stuff it's capable of doing. I can't wait to see it. So
For sure. So we had a
Dunny,
couple new Dunny's here. I see Dunny. Dunny, how you doing?
did you have any
Hi,
follow up
Richie. Hi,
on?
Mischief. Awesome. I'm doing very well. Happy to
Dunny,
be
I
here.
enjoyed the mega pump on Shock this week.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
That was a lot of fun with the SUI Accelerator NFT Pass came out. We had a huge mega pump. And then we also had our first solo focused spaces, which went really well yesterday with Red Alark. And then now we're just working towards our goals here. So it's really great. We had a lot of good volume and pumpage. And, you know, week over week, we keep improving and growing. So anyone's welcome to join the journey with us. We're just chugging along. I'm on Tradeport right now working on some NFTs that I'm going to release to the community here shortly. So we got all kind. Yeah, I'm gonna make
What you
10.
making?
I'm gonna make animated NFTs from the AI videos that I'm creating. I've been doing one of ones and just giving them to certain select people. I have
Ricky,
one
you
for
haven't
you to
seen my
give you.
Aquashock Barbie yet?
I made Wise Degen and Aquashock Barbie, and it dances and everything. And right
The
now, I'm
first
gonna make
edition.
one with the
It was
video.
the
I'm gonna
first
make
edition.
10, a limited edition of 10, like they're called Shock Oddities, and it's like a cool little art collection. And I'm
Well,
having fun with
you
that.
gotta make a Crypto Mischief version one. You gotta make a
Okay,
Crypto Mischief oddity.
I definitely have one for him. I think I DM'd him when I got to send to him. So
Or
I've
he
got
might
one for
even
you,
he
Mischief,
might
of
even
course.
want SUI Trump coin
Okay,
oddity
perfect.
better.
That's
I'm
a
not
good
sure.
one.
That's up to him, you know.
Okay, yeah, I'm into that. I'll make a SUI Trump oddity for sure if
I
if
think
you're
that
into
would be
that,
really
Mischief.
funny to see a SUI Trump oddity version of how you do things.
Okay, cool. I like that idea as well.
That could be good if you make it, then we can do like a contest and then give it away to one of our token holders. That'd be really fun.
Okay, perfect. I like that idea. Let's do it. And then
That'd be really
listen to
fun.
the Swarm Network and Yannick and you guys working with him. There's just so many great builders on SWE, and I just get inspired and more research to do every day. And then the other last thing I wanted to say to Crypto Mischief is that I've been watching your channels lately, and we've become friends and buddies. But I remember like 4 years ago, I was watching this like obscure crypto channel, learning about
I mean,
BNB staking and yielding, and I'm like, that is the channel that I watched, this random channel. And then now it's all come full circle. So I learned a lot from you back then, and I'm still learning from you today. So that's awesome.
That is great. Because it's not like it's always great to just to find friends in this space who have like common interests, common goals.
Cool.
That's
yeah, I remember talking to Denny, and I'm like, yeah, you know, Richie does a lot with like BNB Smart Chain and Sonic and Ethereum Layer 2s, and like something jogged your memory. You're like, wait a second, Yield Farms. It was something like with Yield Farms, I
And the
believe.
logo and your haircut and your good looking face. I was like, I've watched this guy, I've trusted this guy, and I'm glad I did. So that's awesome. Yeah.
it's so true though, because it's every like doing this for so long and you meet so many people, and it's always the best is when you meet people who have the same alignment of is kind of philosophy of life and standards of community. And it's so easy in this space because there is, if someone does something malicious, it's very easy just to walk away from it or disappear and then just make a new avatar and then return, as someone else and then rinse and repeat. I've seen this so many times. So when I meet people like yourself, Dunny, who you just have the best intentions to create something that is community based, that is growing steadily and slowly. You have this lovely way about talking about your project, which I really like, which is just it's it's modest and that's why I'm a shocker for life.
Chalker for life, buddy. You're right
Yeah,
up
yeah.
there in the top 10 holders. I see you, and I appreciate it.
It's
And yeah, we're just chunking away each day, trying to improve on ourselves and just putting in the work. And then when I saw you doxing and doing your thing, I'm like, you know what? I want to live up to that standard. I want to have that accountability and that transparency. And it just makes it motivating and very easy to just stay in my lane and just do my thing. And the other thing that I like is if I'm honest and I'm open, then if I don't tell any lies, I don't have to like any tangled webs, or I don't have to
exactly.
tell any stories or anything. If I'm just open and you see it and I am what I am, like it, love it, hate it, whatever, at least I'm genuine and I'm there and I'm showing up, and I don't have to tell any crazy stories or keep any stories straight of where I put this or where that's going or who I talked to with this, so I just realized I'm smart enough to know that if I just keep it simple and straightforward, then that's the best way to go about it. So yeah, awesome. I love this, the Thursday spaces here, and it's kind of a weekly thing, and there's just so many great people here. So I'm really excited on SUI.
That's the way I've always seen it too. It's if you approach things with an honest outlook on yourself, and it doesn't matter if say even you tell a friend, oh, this might be a really good investment, make up your own mind, and it works, great. Then you feel kind of happy that someone made some success from it. If it doesn't work, then of course, it's not the best situation, but there's no I feel no guilt because just all the cards are on the table. It's the same as running a coin, right? If you just continue to do things in the way that you feel are right and are honest about your approach with it, then price up or price down, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the market. That's the conditions we live in. It's we're in a crypto's a financial business. So that's exactly the way I see it as well. So, I'm brushing my teeth in the morning. I look in the mirror. I can look at myself and think, right, I'm doing everything that I think is the correct way, and I'm always showing the honesty for what's going forward.
You got it, buddy, and that's why I like and love working with you guys. So let's keep it going, keeping it strong. SUI's just starting, so we got so much room for growth and potential here, and there's just room for everyone. SUI Trump is such a good project, and all the utilities you're building over there, and I'm really excited to be close and working and learning with you guys. So thank you.
Remember, I put on the Jumbotron just now the link to the live video of this space on Richie's channel, where if you go there right now, it'll still be live, but it is recorded on his channel also, so you can go back and watch it. And he does videos for all of our project partners for SUI Accelerator. And, he's not getting paid anything at all for this. He does it to help out. So every time on these spaces, I ask if you could just go like his video, subscribe, leave a comment. It's a free way to give back to all the help he's giving us, because I think he should get more credit for that. And definitely, Dunny, you're awesome because you're such a team player. Like, you don't mind helping out other projects, even if you're not, like, your name's not tied to it. Like, you helped me make content for, like, toilet dust, when you had, no recognition of it in it, but you still did it for me and helped out and stuff like that. I really appreciate, and I think that's awesome. And, we've connected, like, on a whole nother level. So, always glad to hear from you, buddy.
You're my boy, Blue. Mischief,
My boy,
you
Blue.
too, buddy. Appreciate it. I see all some good friends in the crowd. Climate Hoax is there, Lifeguard, all these amazing chads. I genuinely like all the people in this space, so I know I'm in the right spot. Cool, guys. I'm going to kick back. I'm going to have a bath and release some NFTs. So pop over in the Telegram in a little while. I'll have them up.
Yeah, and the rest of the space is, now that Yannick had his time on here, anyone else wants to speak about their projects or what they're doing, we have Millie here. He's a partner. We have Rescue, Lifeguard. I don't think we've heard from Lifeguard yet since we've been partners on Accelerator. I'd love to hear from him. He's always
I could
got
go
some
for some
awesome,
Lifeguard Alpha right now. He's always
awesome
good to
stuff.
listen to.
Lifeguard.
We have SUI Trump in the crowd too. Maybe he has something to say.
He's recording on YouTube at the moment.
I think Richie would have to do his Trump voice, but yeah, he could answer for him.
Yeah, I can answer. We have a SUI Stigma
that's
who
another
was a
thing.
speaker, but I'm not sure if he wants to talk. Oh, and Lifeguard's requesting. Let's get the Lifeguard.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, and don't forget about the alpha that you have. Might want to do it at the end or something, but there's definitely some SUI Trump alpha that we need to hear.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on something eagerly, very eagerly. Lifeguard, what's up?
Lifeguard,
What's good, guys?
nice to
This was a
hear from you,
pretty.
buddy. It's been a while. It's been the first time since I saw that you partnered with Accelerator. I'm super happy about that.
Yeah, thanks, man. This was a super cool space. Um, I think it's really important that we start thinking about intelligence differently, because it's like we have so much intelligence available to us. Now it's about how do you apply the intelligence, right? And that's when you're getting specific, and like what he was talking about, machine learning, like there's different modes of machine learning. When you label data and you go through and you carefully curate every single input that you're going to give to this AI, then you can get a very specific output out of this AI. And you kind of separate, and create different AI for different contexts, different tasks, different, situations. That way they can be really specific and they don't have any of this extra content that they don't need to be there. So it was just really cool to hear from people who are actually in the AI field. I'm just like someone who's just like uses or tries to apply the intelligence in a lot of different ways.
Right on, bro. Yeah, because I mean, for me, I spent a couple years training LLMs through data annotation and data analytics. I'm really good with prompt engineering and using LLMs responsibly. So I get, all this stuff, but I know it's complicated for a lot of people. So I'm glad to have Yannick and people like that come on and talk about the other possibilities, because to me it's really is about augmentation. Like if you have bad intentions, you can augment your bad intentions, but if you have good intentions, you can augment your good intentions. Like as far as medical, like AI is able to fold proteins like in such a quick time that used to take scientists their whole career just to figure out one type of protein fold, can now be figured out in like days or weeks, or something incredibly faster. And that's saving lives. That's a real change for the world for the better. And I just totally believe that it's going to be a positive thing for humanity. You should never just plan your whole career on one field, because it could be replaced. You want to be versatile and be able to adapt. And if AI takes jobs away, well, it's also creating new jobs, just like what I just mentioned. Right now, there's such a huge need for data annotators, a new field. They're like sending me emails constantly. And, if you knew where to go to do that type of job, they have it by task, and you could do it as little or as much as you want. And you could do it anytime you want. And it pays pretty good money if you're okay with that type of work. You'll be making boxes around people, boxes around cars, recording phrases, um, comparing Google search results to what things actually are. There's many different types of data annotation that you can do, and it's a perfect kind of side job to cryptocurrency because you can do it all from home. So those are more jobs that are being introduced, even if maybe speech coaches for language learning are getting laid off. Well, there's LLM data annotators, data analysts, um, all those types of things, and there's just going to be even more. Go ahead, rescue lifeguard.
Let me ask you, my man, with the preference now towards like working autonomously, like being a digital nomad or like remote work, like how do you think that's affecting like the social side of things? Like how many social interactions people are having, or like what medium they're having those interactions over, or like I don't know, just
Well,
like
for me, I have been, I'm was born in '83. I witnessed the dawn of the internet. I've been online since it was a thing, and I've been habitually online daily, like to an obsessive level, and obsessed with computers. And I just meld so easily with being online. And these spaces right here that we're having, we're not just sending, text. We're actually having a live conversation. So even though I'm not staring at people, I'm still talking with real people that I associate, with who they are. And a lot of these people, I do know what they look like. So, you know, it is pretty real interaction for me. Um, and I like kind of being a nomad and also having the ability to work anywhere I want. I could move anywhere in the world. And as long as I have internet, I can continue doing what I'm doing. And I like that independence because I have like 7 different backups. I actually have a subreddit dedicated to showing people how they can earn money working from home because I went through a lot of BS websites and stuff that aren't worth your time and figured out the ones that are actually worth it. And it's getting pretty popular as of late. So if anyone's interested in that, you know, you can send me a DM and I can give you that information since it's not really relevant to what we're doing, on this live space. But I definitely was doing that for a long time before I got into crypto and this because this was more what I wanted to do. It's what I love, and it's even more profitable as long as you do it properly, especially on this network because it's definitely going places.
I totally agree, man. 100%.
So for the NFTs, it's been a week since we launched, right? Not just under, well, not even a week, like 4 days, 3 days. Is that right?
Yeah, like three days.
How's it going?
Yeah, and they're
Tell us about the NFTs. How did the mint go? And what's
oh my,
happened since the mint? There's a lot that's
it's
happened.
been
So
it's
give us a catch up.
I knew it was going to go well. Okay, but it's gone more than like way better than I could have imagined because the very first airdrop we had was Aquashock, and because not all 1,000 NFTs have been minted, it was a very dense, concentrated airdrop. So, it was a lot more coins than usual if they were all minted out because they get sent out evenly to all of the active NFTs. And I'm pretty sure, Aquashock, that started pumping after that happened. And then once people realized it was actually a thing and it was working, we were getting requests from other projects wanting to join right away. And they even contacted Paste, this Pokemon or Poke coin, and was already doing an airdrop the very next day. And, he worked that out with them. So it was even a surprise to me getting this Poke airdrop. And I believe they did 2% of their supply, which is, I think, the max, like the biggest that any project has done. And that was like blew up pretty high. And Paste was working it out, like even with just the airdrops you've already had, like the 3 that have already been sent out, if you sold them at their peak height, like after the drop, you'd already be about $25 ROI'd out of what originally cost $85. And there's still 13 scheduled ones to go. And then on top of that, all future partners, which we have a bunch lined up and already requesting to be partners, is going to be a part of it too. So the ROI is already guaranteed as long as you're not going to try and resell your NFT. If you're still holding on to it and you got it from the start, you are definitely going to ROI. And it's going to be continuing to receive airdrops, not just the ones from the partners we already had, but future partners as well. And one thing I wanted to explain to everyone too is that Accelerator, if a project wants to allocate coins to be airdropped to the NFT holders to get exposure, Accelerator takes nothing off the top. We don't keep a percentage for ourselves, and we also don't accept paid promotions. We don't do that if they're not willing to show integrity, some sort of KYC or verification. Talk on a space also, speak to us, then we won't even consider doing any promotion with you. And also, we also help promote projects that we know are legitimate, even if they don't partner as far as allocating some of their coins or any other benefit to our NFT holders. We will still help and post or repost any projects that are doing good things that we know of. And that's the main thing I wanted people to know, is that we're doing this to help grow the community, to give people a chance to get their project known and spread out their part of their coin supply to 1,000 different NFTs once they're all minted, of people that are more likely to hold on to the coin, because since they're also our partners, we're going to go the extra mile. And like, me and Denny can make AI video content for you, AI memes. I will make subreddits for you, TikTok accounts for you. We can do telegrams for you. I'm making a custom chat GPT called SUI GPT that's trained on my model that I've been training for a long time, as well as a lot of information about SUI that's not necessarily ready or available on the internet, because you can make a Google Doc that's readable by ChatGPT, even the custom ones, and I can update that doc with information, and the SUI GPT will be able to pull information from that doc to answer questions and always have the most relevant insider, brand new information all the time. And I think that'll be something cool too, that everyone will be able to get. So we're trying to add so much value to this 25 SUI cost that it's undeniable that it was definitely something you get more back than you invested in, because that was important to me.
Yeah, you still have the SUI Trump airdrop to come as well, which is, what did I say, 1%? Was it 1% of
Yeah,
the supply?
1%.
So currently 1% of the SUI Trump supply is what, $3,600 worth or something around those lines. So that would be a nice and beefy airdrop when we
And
agreed to when to send that one. I want to
yeah,
time it right though.
and by the time, yeah, we're definitely going to time yours right, because I think with the farm,
Yeah.
that could be an ROI in just that airdrop alone if
Well,
it goes where
it's
I think
also
it's
a
going.
immediate way for people to join the farm, because they'll get SUI Trump. They'll be like, oh, I got some SUI Trump. I'll put it in the farm. I'm going to earn some passive income from it at the same time. So this is
Yeah,
and
that's a
then we'll
double
start
whammy.
burning it. So it's
That's
good.
amazing.
Yeah, today I wanted to put the website out, but I'm still waiting for the development team that I work with are about 5 hours behind me in time, so I think they're sleeping right now. So basically, our landing page, pitch deck, white paper, technical docs for our next development for SUI Trump will be out within 24 hours, essentially. That's how close we are. We spent the last 2 weeks fine-tuning the final, the most intricate parts of what we're building. The yield farm is, of course, how sustainable we can make it. So I've spent the last 2 weeks making sure that's extremely fine-tuned and perfect to how I see a yield farm should work. And then making up the white paper and the pitch deck to clearly show everyone who might not understand how to yield farm what you can do with the farm and how you can use it to earn passive income with SUI Trump, of course, but also with blue chip SUI coins and our partner coins as well, which we will be bringing into the farm to offer their communities rewards as well. It's the whole scope of it. And I'm really excited that it's all together. And
That's the main thing I wanted to get across, is that you finally passed that last hurdle, like that last thing that
yeah,
was really keeping it up. That's been solved. So like the rest of the process should just be fairly simple,
yeah,
straightforward. You
exactly.
crossed that
Was
emission
it
token calculation and all that.
well? Yeah, there's a couple things with that, because there was getting the calculations finished and that I'm happy with. But then also talking to, because the team I work with, there are 4 people in the team. One of them is the team organizer in their office. Then they have the main code engineer who just recently started coding with SUI. He was working with EVM before. That's why it's taken longer than I think it should. But I don't want to push him, with a whip. I don't want to whip him too hard. But basically, when I told him that I want to improve the emission model, uh, as a professional, I guess, is what's going to happen is what he said, well, that means it's extra work for me. So therefore, we're going to have to work out some kind of deal. So sorted out a deal with him last week for him to make the changes which I want. Because I told him bluntly, it's like, if you don't make the changes, I'm not going to launch it because I don't think it's going to work. So I would rather not launch it and find another team and waste money on using him, or fix the problems, because it's that important to get something fine-tuned to how the person in charge of the project thinks it doesn't work, then it shouldn't work like that. So I I got my way in the end, which is good. And then from that point, it's just figuring out the fine tuning the other parts, for how we want to raise the liquidity for it, how we want to bootstrap the initial opening of the farm, how can we attract partner coins, of course, but also partnerships inside the SUI ecosystem, which is really important. So that's all ready to go. So I'm waiting for them to essentially press the button and make the website live. Then I can start filtering people to it so they can check it out and see what's actually coming. I can't wait because we've been talking about it for so long to actually show, because some people even ask me in DMs, are you really building something, Richie? Or is it just talk? Is it really coming? I'm like, it is coming. It is
I
coming.
know.
It's just taking ages.
It's gonna
So
be an epic day when it's finally like, here it is. You can actually use it
yeah,
and get victory token. It's happening.
exactly. I know. I do have the habit of uh, getting stuck in the weeds sometimes. So I'm trying to, get out of that a little bit, because
Well,
with
you're a
crypto,
perfectionist. It has to be perfect, and that makes
well,
sense because other projects have to use it.
but then code has to be perfect. But I think the other parts of planning, I get stuck in the weeds, like launching, time to launch, announcements, these kind of things. I can sometimes get a little bit too obsessive about it. Whereas, I mean, look how you launched the NFT collection, right? You made the NFT collection, then you announced the date. The date was a couple of days away, and then you just went for it, right? So that can also be a successful launch strategy. So and I don't want to leave too long before um, the website launch and all the documentation is available, and then the beginning of the project. Shouldn't be too long. Things in crypto have to happen quite um, quickly in succession to continue the momentum, and
And
that's what I
and
want to do
today
all along.
with Sui passing $4 today, that's and
Yeah,
we
that's
can see
great.
this momentum building. So
It's
I
so
think this is the
obvious.
time we've been waiting
Hey,
for.
$10 SUI, man, is so obvious. I was trying to tell my friend, right? He only holds Bitcoin and ETH, right? And he's been holding Bitcoin and ETH since 2020, right? So he went up, he went down, it's gone back up, went up to 125. I said, oh no, went up to 108 or something. And I said, maybe you should take some profit on your Bitcoin. He didn't take profit, went back down. And then I told him the other day, I said, well, you should, I think it was last week, I said, you should just sell probably half of your ETH and just buy SUI. Like,
100%.
because although like Ethereum had this upgrade yesterday, which is why it's seeing serious green candles. It was oversold. The tech is better now, but it's not better than SUI. The upscale of price performance in SUI is way higher. A 2x to 5x is completely, it's there. You can see it. Um, with Ethereum, it has to retake 4,000, and even then, it still isn't at its all-time high from last cycle. It's lagging behind seriously. So I suggested he buy SUI. It was on a red day, and of course, what message do I get today? Richie,
I should have did it.
should I buy it now? Like, what?
Yeah, but at the top.
Why? Why
Yes.
this? No, well, this insistence always to look at CoinGecko on a green day and then buy the chart. I don't know.
Yeah.
Never shake that out of some people. It's like, no, you buy it when it's red, when everyone thinks it's not going to work. That's when you make the investment.
I know that with
Well,
us, it's like when it goes down, it's exciting. The last big purchase that I made was when it hit $1.86 recently. That was
yeah,
huge, and I had actually a lot extra Litecoin stacked up to actually invest big in that. That was huge because $1.86, it's already more than double that. If it's at
yeah,
$4, and that wasn't even that long ago. That was like within a month ago. So a $10 SUI by the end of 2025, I've heard is modest. Some people say $20, $25 a SUI. and that
What I'm looking,
$10 is
yeah,
almost guaranteed. But
what I'm looking at
you know,
doing now is that because I have a lot of Ethereum altcoins and meme coins actually, a large collection of meme coins and altcoins on ETH, and they're all very much underwater. Some of them I'm still in profit. For example, Pepe. I bought that the second or first day it came out, completely random. I just saw it. I bought like $1,000, and then it just went parabolic. But it's come down considerably since that time. What I'm looking for now is if ETH does have this rally coming back to 3K or 3.5K, I want to start selling off my meme coins on the Ethereum network, moving that capital into SUI altcoins instead, because I just see so much more potential upside inside the SUI ecosystem with everything that's happening, with even the projects that are here, like listening or wanting to speak today. That just there's so much more potential upside and way less malicious people in the space. It just seems like a safer place to start building for this next cycle.
100%. And
Yeah.
I definitely recommend everyone to check out Costas's speech during base camp, because he definitely is like the smartest out of everyone at Mission Labs, in my opinion. And when he talks about the things that are available on SUI and what they're working on being available, is just completely mind blowing. Like using SUI when you don't even have internet, you can open up a side tunnel if it's just you and one other person, and you can interact and do stuff on SUI just between you guys. And then when you get internet access again, you just send the end results of whatever you guys were doing. And then also sending SUI via text message for places that don't have internet. You can create custom prompts to where if you text message this number with a 2, it'll send $50 to your local grocery store through an SMS text message. And the things you can do on Walrus. Walrus, the storage protocol just went live not that long ago, and there's going to be Seal, which is like absolutely 100% private data that no one can ever see, and then Nautilus, there's coming on board. They're just adding protocol after protocol and utility after utility. It's going to be so utility packed that I think it can have price action outside of the regular scope of altcoins, because it's not just about cryptocurrency. It's about all the things you can do with SUI and the SUI NS. You'll be able to create video calls with voice. You can block people. You can uh, just use a SUI NS and not have to be your name or your address. That's already included. That's going to be adding. Also, you can sign things. So prove that you are who you say you are, like the zero knowledge proofs, but in a public way. So where somebody can send you something and then you can sign it with your SUI NS that everyone knows is yours. And then if it comes back from that signed SUI NS, they can know that it came from the actual person. And it just goes on and on and on. I mean, the stuff that's possible here, it's really cool being a computer nerd and hearing all this stuff. It's amazing. Anyone have anything else they would like to ask or talk about? I know Denny came and went.
Danny's in the bath. He said he's going to go in the bath. He's going to mint some NFTs.
Okay, we got a request here. Oh, he's coming back. He's gonna report back what he found in the bathtub. X, come on, X.
Man, I wish I could fit in my bath. It's one of these things about living in China, right? All baths are designed for the average height of the Chinese person. Right? I'm 6 foot.
Oh,
I go in the
really?
bath. Yeah, I go in the bath. My legs are poking out either side, or it's the most uncomfortable experience. I've never found a bath in the entire China which can fit a. Because to be honest, in Scotland, I'm at slightly above average man, slightly. But here it's just so yeah. I'm imagining
I'm
Dunny in like a giant bath, North American sized bath, you know.
Texas size. Everything's bigger in Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to approve Dunny, but it's just not. I'm pressing, nothing's happening. But I'm trying Dunny. Um,
So actually, the SUI Accelerator NFT was the first ever NFT I've purchased on SUI. I was looking in my wallet actually. So I'd never used them before. I've been too burned on NFTs in the past. I was just concentrating on coins. But I
Well,
got that NFT, and then looking at the Suicide Social Club's NFT collection, and quite like them actually. So I grabbed a couple of them as well. I'm
yeah,
trying to control myself though. Well, I guess I have SUI NS NFTs. They're NFTs as well. But the Suicide Social Club NFTs, they're quite nice. The designs are good. They're quite unique. Um, they have like a good vibe about them, and relatively cheap as well. So huge upside on them, I think. Got two requests. Mortal. Mortal, I put you up to speak. I think you might be able to hear. No?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. I think everyone got muted. Don't know what happened. We have Morton. Morton looking to speak.
My wife's DGen profile got removed, so I'm trying to get it back on.
I was rugging too, but I'm back now.
No, I got kicked off. My wife's DGen profile got removed, so I'm trying to get it back on.
I was rugging too, but I'm back.
No, I got kicked off.
I'm just going to jump in really quickly and just say how awesome and excited I was to do be the first inaugural airdrop for SUI Accelerator. That was a great honor, and it was so exciting to step up and do that with them. And that project's just coming together so well. It was so flawlessly executed by Paste and the team, and I just know that I've picked the right people to work with. And it was fun just establishing ourselves, and everybody knows now not to muck around because the SUI Accelerator boys are doing it right.
Yeah,
yeah, I just came back, guys. I was kicked off for a second, so
um,
that's why I was silent for a second. But um, the NFTs, yeah, this is actually the first one that I actually purchased from Mint as well myself, because all the other NFTs I've ever gotten, I got them on resale because I can never remember to do the mint, and they would sell out so quickly. But as far as I've seen, all the NFTs have been about just art, and they do have like benefits to them, but the majority of what they are is art. So, I wanted to create one and paste that's pure utility based and just a way to spread out coins and make a win-win situation for everyone. Like the projects win because they get exposure and their coins go to people that are more likely to hold them. And the fact that they're partnered with us, they're more likely to go up in value. And then the projects themselves, they're going to get extra support, like from me and Denny, making AI videos, memes, subreddits, all that stuff. So I think it's total value packed, and there are still some for sale. And if you're not whitelisted, you can send us a message and we'll add you to that whitelist so you can get it for 25 SUI only. And you can buy as many as you want as well.
And there's going to be some surprise airdrops. There might even be a surprise airdrop of the first coin doing a super secret maybe drop later if they feel like doing so, which they are right now, and maybe it'll happen again, so get it, and it's going to happen.
Ooh, alpha.
Little alpha.
So I guess oh yeah, it's been 2.5 hours. I think that would be a good space for today. You know, I plan on having more spaces, and I also plan on streaming to Kick. You know, when Richie's not available, because I know he's a busy guy, and I want to get accelerator pages for everything. You know, anyways, including YouTube. And you know, any proceed I get from the sale of the NFTs, 100% of it is going to a new computer that I could use to make better content for the project partners. You know, I'm not trying to make any profit for myself or line my pockets. I'm truly trying to do this to help everyone else and improve my ability to help projects and create better content and just grow the network even more. And you know, I want to show a receipt on that and everything, that you know, this is what I got, this is what I'll be able to do, and you'll be able to see the difference in the content that I could put out, because it'll be amazing from what I've read. Because I'm using a Lenovo T44P. It doesn't even have a dedicated GPU. And you know, to do the kind of things I want to do, I need to get a full, you know, Lenovo ThinkPad P16 13th generation Intel Core i9 with the RTX 4070, 12 gigabytes of VRAM. And I know that's not the best and the latest, but for what I want to do, for what I want to accomplish, it's more than enough. And it's also Linux compatible, which I like. It's compatible with CUDA and Stable Diffusion. It's just not so much a gamer PC, which I don't do anyways. And it can handle streaming very well.
I got
And
a Mac
I can't
Mini
wait.
Pro like a month ago. Unbelievable. It can edit and render videos while live streaming in two different locations while having Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator and AI plugins and everything open at the same time and just chug away without any issue. It's unbelievable. Never seen this from a Mac before. It's absolute beast.
Yeah, well,
It's tiny as well.
well, yeah, I'm sure that, you know, those Macs, they have dedicated GPUs also. And that's the main thing, because computers, they don't require a GPU to function. You can just have a CPU, you know, your processor and your RAM and motherboard. GPU is not required, but that's like the most expensive part of a good computer setup is the GPU.
The price was
That's one
And
thing
that's
that's really cool.
like $900 for this thing. I couldn't believe it. You need a screen, of course, because it's just a box, but it's an absolute beast.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
and
check that
I'm
one.
getting mine from a Lenovo. It's from Lenovo.com, but it is refurbished. But it at least comes with a guarantee, because they're like half the price, and it's like, you know, last year's model. So it's a huge savings, because you don't need to get brand new, because you know those are like $8,000.
I hope it doesn't come
Where I can
riddled
get
with
this one for
spyware.
like
Like
no, that's the thing. You know, it's coming from Lenovo. It's not like a reseller on eBay or something. So Lenovo actually checks it out and puts it to their standards.
but
And I do
Lenovo's a
custom
Chinese company,
OS.
right?
But I've been using them for. I love Lenovo. They're
They might be different here. If you buy Lenovo here, they come plugged in with all kinds of added spyware and
oh, definitely then,
adware.
because
Oh, it's
yeah,
crazy. You have to clean it like completely.
my Linux community, like they tell you, like the Lenovo ThinkPads are the bomb. And as far as like viruses and stuff, that's something that could only be stored on the OS install. Once you do a custom installation, which I do anyways, you know, dual boot to Windows 11 Pro, custom build ISO with it stripped down, gutted, all the spyware and bloatware taken off, and then dual boot to Linux Mint LMDE edition. the Debian edition. It's a clean install, so anything that was on it before is completely wiped out and custom install. So I can't wait for that. It's going
That's
to
good.
be
That's good.
amazing.
Hey guys, speaking of integrated graphics, the SUI Play uses AM4 Ryzen 7 series 7740U, I think. It's got really cool 8 or 12 threads, but it also has integrated graphics, which it can pull about the same as a 1050 Ti. Which isn't like world shattering, but it's better than like a Nintendo Switch, and it's really great for a handheld because of the efficiency, and you don't have a second GPU unit. It's all running on the AMD Ryzen, and it's got DDR5 in there too. So it is like a little computer in your hand, and they do some really cool, efficient stuff with that integrated graphics. So I'm really excited about this Play.
Benny at Basecamp, when they did a presentation, they said it's more powerful than a Nintendo Switch 2.
I fully believe that. I think Nintendo Switch 2 is an AMR chip, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to look that up in a minute. But yeah, this Ryzen AM4 Slapper 7 series is going to blow the doors off that, I'm pretty sure.
And they said if GTA 6 came out tomorrow, it could play it. You can play GTA 6 on a PS, on the SUI Play OX1. And
I
that
believe that. If
alone
there's a port for
says
it,
it all.
then definitely.
And notice I'm saying GTA 6, not 5, the one that hasn't even been released yet. And it's possible that it may be available on GTA 6 because one thing they said, one of the reasons for the delay is that they wanted to add the ability to incorporate cryptocurrency. That's why some people are kind of wondering if there's going to be a version for the SUI Play. It's a real possibility.
Okay, Switch 2 says that they have a custom processor made by NVIDIA, but that's on their spec site. But that's not a Ryzen chip. That's kind of interesting. But I bet it's an AMR ARM chip as opposed to the AM4 socket. The Ryzen's going to be much better, I believe.
You know, guys, SUI has a YouTube channel, and there's barely any subscribers. Even Richie has twice the amount of subscribers as the SUI YouTube channel, the official one. So, props to Richie. He has more subscribers than the whole network. But they have
My best Ric Flair there.
woo! They have all the videos from Basecamp that I can't seem to find on X. Like they have the whole series in a playlist, and it has, it's a lot easier to go through than X. So, check it out. Just search for SUI. They're all there. And watch Costas Crypto's video. It's the best. And of course, Adoni, the very first one that he does. And, during the base camp, during his presentation, he actually was able to harness some aquashock energy and he flew into the air, like energized by aquashock. It was amazing.
In Dubai, he flew right up to the ceiling. He got really jazzed on SUI, and he's jazzed on the culture, and he's jazzed on the memes that are on SUI, and he just took off in excitement, and he shocked all of Dubai.
And even he made a tsunami come on the stage too, and on the second part, it was amazing. So
it was quite the base camp. It was a highlight of base camp.
Then he took a huge dump in a toilet.
Yeah, he did that too.
Yeah, I actually went to base camp with Toilet Dust Intern, and after we arrived, we flew into base camp with the same aquashock magic.
That
with
is
my
true. Carried you right in
hyper
there.
realistic deep fake of myself and of my actual photo of me. So it is me, but it is a deep fake of me. So it's kind of confusing, but yeah, we had a lot of fun with that. It was really cool. AI is awesome for that kind of stuff, and it keeps getting better.
Yeah, seriously, bro. They'll do this yearly, right? The SUI base camp. So by the time of next year, if this cycle is still continuing, we should 100% get a booth.
I'm there.
Let's do it.
Definitely
Let's
on
get a
there.
booth.
100%. I'll reserve mine today. Like I'm definitely going to be there next year. We're all going to be rich by then because we're early. But by next year, man, I can't imagine what they're going to be doing. It's going to be a great time. Plus, I want to go to Dubai anyways. I've never been on that side of the earth.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for someone that I know who doesn't really crypto much to just, reach out to me or meet him, in the bar or whatever, the coffee shop. And he goes, "Hey, have you heard of SUI coin?" Then I'll know it's all over. That's it. Sell.
That's it.
Well,
Sell.
Yeah,
that's
I,
the
I want to
first
hear it from
place.
like a car guy or a hockey guy
Yeah,
being like,
exactly.
"Hey, you guys like that SUI? The banks are gonna use it," and I'll be like, "All right, cashing out time. Let's go."
Exactly.
Bro, well, I told you guys, my mom has SUI and SUI Trump, and now she has Aquashock because of the NFT. So my mom owns your crypto.
I am honored that Wise Degen mom trusts me to. I'm gonna work hard for Wise Degen's mom. Actually, when I find out that people are holding my coin and are supporting it, it motivates me to work hard because I like to help these people. So okay, I'm gonna do it for Degen's mom.
She's
Much respect.
definitely gonna
I
listen
talked
to
to my
this.
mom
So
about crypto too. We talked about that. You share your crypto with your nice, loving mom, and so do I. And it's nice to have a good family and mom and family member to talk to about these kinds of things. Because when you're sharing it around town, people either have their motivations and stories. But I thought that was really sweet that you talked to your mom about that. So tell her I say hi and I'm going to work hard for her.
well, I was gonna say she listens to these, so she's gonna hear what you're saying right now. Don't mean to put you on the spot or nothing.
That's nice.
Hi,
Hello,
mom.
IC Jen's mom. You're awesome.
My dad's always the same. When the coins go up, I'll get a message from him saying, "Son, I see your coins, your Ponzi coins are up, son." And then whenever they're down,
That's good.
"Son, it looks
That's
like
good. Good
Your
Scottish dad.
Ponzi coins have gone way down again. Uh-oh, what you gonna do?"
It's all a
That sounds like my
Ponzi.
dad. Yeah.
Going up or down though, they just call them Pond coins.
What do people say in Chinese when they talk about crypto?
They call it Hobi,
Yeah.
fire coin. Would be what they usually call it. Actually, Chinese people are really into sui. I have a friend
No, but
called
in
Jimmy.
but in Chinese, what would they say?
Huobi is cryptocurrency in Chinese.
Can you say a whole sentence? I love your Scottish
Ah,
Chinese accent.
你看到了那个比特币 which is Bitcoin. 这点价格好贵的，我的妈，100万，能去
That's so cool.
which means we're going to the moon.
I gotta learn that. I gotta learn that one. If I learn any Chinese at all, I gotta learn we're going to the moon for
Yeah, a
sure.
lot of them are into sui though, actually, in China. Growing number of people are seeing the opportunity essentially for owning
Makes
SUI
sense.
and what they can do to build on it as well, because they're pretty snazzy with their coding, the Chinese actually.
And it is, Japanese sui for water, so they might find a connection there. I think it's cool.
The Chinese for water is shui, but then really the finding like a common ground between Chinese and Japanese is really hard because of their history. They have, you know,
There's
years
some
and
Totally
decades of
history
true.
there.
horrible massacres and rivalry spanning multiple generations. It's very hard. I mean, even like outside, you'll see kids playing in China, and they're just saying "bomb the Japanese to death." Like it's like
Oh my
it's their
goodness.
enemy from a very young age. Of course, as they get
Well,
older, they realize that it's just what's the word? Something instilled
propaganda.
by well, kind of. It's instilled by the older generation because they're the ones who lived through the um, the Nanjing massacre and then Japan rising out of the ashes after World War II, while China went through the Cultural Revolution and were starving. They were watching over the pond, the Japanese economy booming and becoming a super country, right? While they were barely able to make dinner. So there's a lot of competitiveness between the two places, and
Well,
down
I'm
to
interested.
even language as well. Like Chinese say that Japanese people stole their language and use
Uh,
it. It's insane.
I'm
Can be
interested to see
quite wild.
what you say about tomorrow. Since you're an insider, because I doubt we hear any of the actual news from China, because
Mm-hmm.
supposedly they're like totally folding and their economy is going down, and
It's the
like they're
worst I've ever seen
definitely.
it. I've been here for 12, 13 years. It's the worst I've ever
Yeah,
seen the
what's it
economy.
like? Boots on the ground. What kind of what are you seeing there?
Because to the U.S., they make it seem like they're fine, everything's all good, but
It's comparable to what's happening in the UK right now, to be honest. But China, because they extended the lockdowns further than the rest of the world, they're kind of behind the rest of the world by about a year in terms of economic decline or economic um, recovery. So they're still in decline. I mean, in terms of like I run a business here, it's a restaurant. We are okay, still making profit, but it's definitely the least profitable year I've ever had in China. Um, and talking to the wine suppliers, the meat suppliers, anyone working in food and beverage, they're all saying exactly the same thing. They've never seen it this dry of liquidity, of people just not wanting to spend anything. The consumers are preferring to either not spend or buy the lowest quality goods to survive essentially and make sure that they can meet the bottom line. It's all to do with housing, really.
well, what I'm trying to figure out is I still need to look into it. What caused this like sudden boom in all the markets? Like Bitcoin, everything went up, shot up. Ethereum is up 22% in the last 24 hours.
I
I
think
know they
it's
had an upgrade, but
I,
it was the whole market.
yeah, it's just one of these things that happens with Bitcoin. Bitcoin wakes up, everything pops. Sometimes I'm happy that it's not correlated to world events, really, because the only thing that happened yesterday of note was the UK signed a trade deal with China. But that's tiny. The UK is not important anymore. I'm British, like it doesn't affect the UK's financial condition doesn't affect the global market anymore. Um, that could have done it though, because then it shows that Trump's going to start rolling out more agreements with Western countries for tariffs, possibly. But yeah, in terms of over here, the market's been in China, the market's just been declining continuously since about 2021, where the housing market peaked, but it was way overbought. Like even in a tier two city in China, 3 years ago, you would have to buy a two-bedroom apartment, right, on the 60th floor, right, of somewhere, and you'd have to spend roughly, in pounds, it would be about £400,000, which is like $500,000 for a two-bedroom apartment in the middle of a non-developed town, right? Which, when the average wage of the workers is about $400 a month, it's unachievable amounts. So they all started borrowing money to try get mortgages to start investing in all these houses. Of course, they all came down. They crashed about 75%, which means the majority of the Chinese population are underwater with their property purchases, and most of them own multiple
What
properties.
about how they say that because of the one child law they had for a while, that
Mhm.
China's population is actually decreasing too much, and there's a concentration of older Chinese people that need to be taken care of compared to actual working, able-bodied age
That's true, but it's
Chinese citizens.
not only due to the one-child policy though, because now they have a three-child policy and even more possibly in different cities. But they have this word which they came up with, what's it? Involution, right? They made a new word, an English word called involution, right? Involution means giving up on life, giving up on any idea that you can make a difference, giving up on being special or unique, becoming a NPC essentially in society. They call it either
I
laying
believe
flat,
that's
letting
similar
it
to
grow,
nihilism, to
a little bit
nihilistic
like a
beliefs.
slacker, right? So it's kind of a cultural movement for the youth here. And it involves, of course, never finding a girlfriend or boyfriend, never wanting to marry, never wanting to own anything, and never wanting to achieve anything, because that would mean that you're singling yourself out for attention. So that's kind of a growing trend here, which leads to declining population and a pretty unresponsive workforce as well, unfortunately.
And
But then,
in Japan, they have these things called I don't know if the word's right exactly, but hikidoris, where they never leave their house. They're just online, and that's all they do, and they never leave their room, but their families will still support them in what they're doing, and they will not leave their house or their room for like 8 years, 10 years. They just decide to stay in their house, and it's like a really popular thing there now. So that's I find that really interesting as well.
That's
And
wild.
people living, you can go to an internet cafe and rent time on a computer, but people also live there. Like they have it be that's where they live. They just rent a computer just like, and they don't stop renting it, and that's where they live. And it's okay with the internet cafes. Like there's so many things in Asian and Japanese culture that are so interesting to me. Definitely going to be my first stop when I go to that side of the planet is to check out the pub and some Japanese oddities.
Yeah, I'm going to Taiwan next month, actually. I've never been there. Looking forward to seeing how different it is to the mainland, essentially. I know it will be
very interesting. Yeah, because their nationalist government went to Taiwan, right? And then the socialist government took over the
the
mainland.
Kuomintang. Yeah, and then Mao Zedong took over China from that point. So now, like in Taiwan now, like of course, if you go to Taiwan, then you meet anyone who's Taiwanese or of Taiwanese descent. Of course, they're going to say Taiwan is an independent country. Taiwan is its own sovereign nation. Anyone you speak to in China, they're like, nope, you're not. You are China. You are ours. We own your ass, essentially.
Yeah, and Google makes different maps. Like if you access Google Maps from China, it shows Taiwan as part of China. If you access it from Taiwan, it says it's a separate country.
It's best to
So
never get involved, to be honest. For my opinion, as a guest, like even if it was in Taiwan or in China, if I was showing a map, I just put like a logo over Taiwan. Like I wouldn't even want to get into the conversation. So I've learned from the
just
experience. There used to be a
just
lecturer.
pretend you don't know what it is.
Yeah,
You can, as a tourist, you can always just ask
Yeah,
them,
that's good.
like, I don't know I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're
yeah.
asking. I don't know.
Which is funny actually, because when we were talking about AI and how data can be processed and how it could be corruptible or information is never truly true, right? Um, what 1.6 billion people believe is true, right? Um,
I
so it's pretty
I
wild,
try
actually.
and picture I try and picture what North Koreans believe. If
Yeah,
that's their
yeah,
whole life, has been isolated from the outside world and, fed extreme propaganda their whole lives. They have no idea what's going on in the outside world. It's like, that must be so wild.
yeah.
Like the people that escape
They
and see
probably
the real
think the same
world
about
must be
you. They
like,
probably feel sorry for you.
Yeah, exactly. There's no the conclusion I came to is there's absolutely no way for me to verify that what I think is true and what they think is true is false, right? So therefore, there might be a lot to learn from someone else's perspective on what they've seen. Um, which I
that's why
before I moved to
that's
China,
why
I
I
had
like
no idea.
cryptocurrency.
Yeah. Oh, true. It's the same about crypto, right? One thing can mean completely different things for other people. Some people see a sign of something that's happening, they think, oh, that's really bullish. This is a great sign. Other people can see the same thing happen and think it's extremely bearish. Yeah, true.
Yeah, from what I picked up, most people lost all confidence in crypto making a comeback. And for me, I mean, here we were all really confident still, but it seems like the majority of the world just had no hope at all that it was going to, have a rise again. But, here we are, and hopefully it keeps going because it's going to be great. Passing $4, that's, it's weird too. It seems like always the same day. I think it might have been the last day that SUI passed $4 was the same day that Bitcoin passed $100,000. So it'd be weird if it happened again on the same exact day. They seem pretty lockstep in how their price action goes compared to, like Ethereum has been way off of Bitcoin for a long time. It's Bitcoin's smashing Ethereum with its,
Yeah,
price action.
I cannot wait to sell my Bitcoin. Actually, been hodling this bag since 2019 and waited all the way up in the 2021 cycle, all the way down to 15K, grab more, and now I'm waiting for 125,000 for Bitcoin to make the first sale, and then hopefully stagger the sales all the way up to about 200,000. would be my dream 2025, 26. Let's see what
Boom.
happens. Yeah.
And then
And
you
then
can still interact with BTC through SUI. You can interact with any chain you want.
yeah, I mean, I'd never sell all my bags, but definitely that's the key. Patiently waiting and finally getting to take the profit, which is, you know, that's what I love about Bitcoin. It's just so steadily outperforming every other asset that you can possibly think of that you could have bought. Even if you bought in 2019 when it was already overbought in many people's opinion, and it's still outperforming anything else. It's just changing lives every single 5 years. And
Let's go.
yeah, exactly. It's love Bitcoin.
So we're hitting 3 hours now. I'm excited, to check out the price action and other stuff. So I guess we can call it a space for today.
Yep, good
Um,
idea.
Definitely, there's more access passes. The SUI Accelerator Access Pass, you can buy as many as you want. If you're whitelisted, you still get them for 25 SUI. There's no limit. And if you're not whitelisted for some reason, send us a message and we'll get you whitelisted. And looking forward to seeing you guys on other spaces. And definitely, we're going to have another space next Thursday, same time. And we'll be doing some more scheduled spaces for other time zones because it's a request I keep getting as well.
Yeah. Also, once when I get the this website, when they push the button essentially on the new SUI Dex, SUI Trump SUI Dex website, we can get in the live spaces and I'll go over everything.
Perfect.
Yeah. I'm really eager. I just want to push the button.
Push the
Then I
button.
want to push the button, then I want all full control. It's one of these things. You need to rely on people to give you assistance to build things, but then, at some point you got to say, give me that button. give me the
And
button.
you gotta have full control to keep control of the release date.
Yeah,
For sure.
well, it's I want full control of the code for in terms of like website hosting and these kind of things. I'm perfectly happy to have the team working on that because as long as you have control of the code, nothing can go wrong. Websites, you can have some security risk, of course. If it was a malicious person, they could replace the website with a fake front end to a fake contract and then screw people that way. So there needs to be a degree of trust there. But with code is king always. The code is the most important part of anything that we're
And
doing.
SUI's ultra secure. They made it's like one of their biggest features when it comes to their language.
Yeah, it's true.
Any wrap up statements, Denny?
Just really looking forward to the SUI Trump SUI Dex happening and a big powerful week ahead. And then, just working on Aquashock and rising with the SUI water. So everyone come join me in Telegram anytime you want. I'll be in more spaces all the time and just always great to have you guys here.
Thanks, Denny.
Thanks, Danny.
And remember, this was on Richie's YouTube channel, Crypto Mischief on YouTube. You can go watch the live versions and be more interactive and subscribe, like, comment your favorite project.
I was thinking today I have some spare time, so I want to do a review of a project. I was thinking to do a review on Toilet Dust to see how they've managed to get such huge steam behind them because it's quite a huge pump on those guys.
That would be interesting because
yeah,
it's a whole like different game over there. Like when I go in their Telegram and I raid something, it's just like a barrage, just a tsunami like of just engagement. Like it's because of them that I went from like 600 followers to 1,000 in like a week because I was helping them. So it's they're on CoinMarketCap, they're on CoinGecko, they're on Binance.com in an article. There's Medium articles. They're on Crypto.com. They're number one trading on Phantom. They're number one trading on some other top lists. It's just like they're super firepower capable, and it's wild to see happen. And Juan Cena, he's been helping us out. Every project that we're doing with Accelerator, he's been a part of. He's like in Aquashock's Telegram, and he's awesome. And we're probably gonna be partnering with him, and looking forward to it. There's a lot of good things coming. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, toilets 17x 1 month. That's crazy. As well. We want to see all
It
these
was
coins
quite a
of the,
journey.
all these coins in the accelerator program. This kind of is possible for every single project, I believe. It's just about people having the commitment to hold the tokens up through the green days, right? You see 50% pump on a token, then you don't need to immediately take your profit. Tell other people about it and get more people involved. I've also been looking at the suicide token as well, because that's been performing really well.
And they've been around
of course,
for a very
Aquashot.
long time.
Yeah, suicide. Yeah, exactly right.
They've had their all-time high is 1.4 million too. So they've been up really high there. As far as a new project, Aquashock, that's definitely one for me.
Oh,
That's a low market cap. That's so undervalued. If they knew everything that Dunny was capable of doing, self-doxing, selfie videos,
yeah, I can make an
he's a
Aquashot
good
video,
dude.
actually. I could do that. That'd be pretty
Let's
sweet.
do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's got everything I need. I've got your videos, I've got your X, you've got the website, we've got Dunny.
He can
Right?
even make the AI content for you. He can even make some crazy intro of you like flying through the
actually,
air doing some
that's a
crazy
great idea.
stuff.
Actually,
Someone was saying we should do that
Dunny,
actually yesterday. Was mentioning
I'll
to
DM
me.
you after this, and we can make some kind of a video that I can put into the video review. That'd be really fun. Of like something ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I love it. Let's do it.
It'll make like
Let's
because what I want to do is like
go.
5 to 8 minute reviews of SUI tokens, because I've been doing reviews of tokens, but they're putting them all together into like hour-long videos, which can get quite tricky for getting new people to get attracted to
Well,
watching an hour when the alpha, right?
it's all good, Richie. I've been splicing them per project and sharing them with each project of just their part. So I've been helping with that.
Cool. Appreciate you, man.
But yeah, definitely like a full on. I'm everywhere, but definitely a full on like highlight of a project. That really makes people a lot more appreciative. That's like a really awesome thing to see.
Yeah, cool. Well, anyway, guys, I will talk to you soon. Danny, I'm going to send you a DM, okay, on a Telegram.
Talk soon, buddy. Shit.
Okay.
Say, Jen.
Adiós, hermanos. Vamos a tener una muy buena ciclo de criptomonedas. Vámonos a la luna. Bye.